sisters, here we are again with the scholar, Brother Bobby Hemmitt. I don't need to go on and give him a long, introduction. We just gonna head right in there with Bobby Hemmitt, try to cover a few things that we have not touched on yet. Brother Bobby Hemmitt. Let's give it up for Bobby.
All right. Yeah. What we're gonna deal with today, I'm back. I'm glad to be back here in Harlem, the capital of Black America, and we say that is because it's historically undisputed the historical capital of Black America. If you were somebody, you came through Harlem. I want to say that. Harlem, New York. I've been blessed to come through Harlem. I just want to say that it's 10 years ago. I had just finished my first lecture, which was human artificial. No, it wasn't human artificial. It was Dogon, and I did human artificials. Human artificials after that, and set typhon 1 and 2. For those people to get to the library and try to find out about those particular aspects, which is more than 50, because that's what we're going to go back into, human artificial, in the aspect of who are the human artificial. We talk about this white race that we are still not unclear. We're still unclear about what we're dealing with, this vile cold beast and how he's affected our lives. And we're not saying, we know that he is responsible for us being fucked up, but we're responsible for our own liberation. So we are not in no means trying to say that we are supposed to give up on trying to figure this shit out because the white man is the devil. But then again, on the other hand, we don't supposed to get that the white man is also the devil in the physical connotation of what we call the devil. Not the metaphysical when we talk about the Satan and all that stuff I get into, but when you talk about an adversary on the physical earth, we know that the adversary in this particular case, spite what most black people say, you know, well, black people are my worst enemies, but we're talking about a world system that would even produce a brother to be against a brother. There has to be an origin to that. And in this particular case, for the last 500 years, it's been this damn beast, this white boy. And in a consortium, or what you want to call it, be Italian, Jew, or whatever the deal is, one thing about it that they have a consensus on, that we are supposed to remain on the bottom. So there might be solidarity with you and white folks as individuals. You might meet a few, and that's, I think that's one of the problems on why black people, first of all, I must say this about black people. Black people are not racist and never will be. I heard Professor Asa Hilliard say this years ago, Dr. Asa Hilliard, that black people are never racist and never will be because it's not our nature to be racist. And when I did human artificials and later on immigrant humans, I told the people that you can't look at this as the same thing as this is racism back at you, because I'm saying, first of all, I'm explaining the truth. Number two, I'm telling you not to be racist in the aspect that you get emotionally upset about white folks, but I'm telling you, you must understand white folks. So when we do these things, it's a difference in being a racist in the aspect of you personally have a dislike for some white person because you have no merits based on what somebody told you. But it's another thing to understand white folks. There's a difference. Now let me give you an example on white folks' side. The average redneck or the average ignorant person is a racist because they have been trained in a system that they dislike white people dislike black people based on what they were trained and what they heard, and based on a tradition. And most black people say, well, if those white people were to get education on us, they would like us better.
That's right.
Unfortunately, this is wrong. Those ignorant white people hate us based on what they were trained, based on their tradition and what they heard certain things, and based on someone basically giving them untruths about us, and basically simply not knowing us in the aspect of not only the stereotypes of what was given to them. You know, so that's one form of racism. But the other form of racism is those white people who do know us. It's a form of jealousy and a form of knowing that we are the original people on the earth and they must keep us down. Now that's a learned white man. There's a difference. Now, how is it now? Because the people who do the devastating things on black people is not the regular prejudice, white prejudice. The difference between prejudice and racism. That's just your own prejudice. And I think that basically humans themselves have that type of thing based on their personal experience with somebody. Mm-hmm. And that's where you get the common white folks. But the people who affect our lives, policymakers and world rulers and dictators, those particular people do not decide that we are the enemy based on they just don't simply like us because of our color. They decide that we're the enemy because they know our history. And they know that motherfucker, we are the shit. They know that we are the original people. They know we run it, and they know the history that when the dust clear, we're going to have the final say-so. So this is different why they have to hold us down. It is different to why they have to hold us down, but the simple doggone fact is they are the elite of Masonic members. And that elite says, and I've talked about this before, that what happens here is when they go over into the Masonic world and they cross over, the first thing they do on the night of their initiation, white initiation, the night that they pass the burning sands into the world of Masonry, when they pass and when they take off the veil, there's a white man waiting, a black man waiting there. They go get an old black man waiting there. And they have that black man in the lodge, handcuffed, blindfolded, or whatever. And they say, this is your true father, and you must always hold him down. So what we're talking about here is a battle of supremacy. Just like Francis Cress Welsing say, white genetic annihilation. Mm-hmm. If our fall is their rise, and our rise is their fall. We're talking about a world system here. That's what black people don't understand. Yes, you might meet, I have met white people that was cool with me.
But you still don't trust the ass.
Yeah, they were cool with me, but as individuals, they don't have the power to affect me as an individual. Right. So I would have no reason to distrust them in that particular aspect because I know this motherfucker ain't got the power to damn hurt me. But we're talking about a collective group and a world system. And that's the problem about racism. What black people don't understand is when they deal with white people, they're only dealing with white people on the individual aspect. And they fail to understand as a collective world system, somebody got to be on top and somebody got to be on the bottom. And although it's becoming increasingly, you're finding white people now at all walks of life that is nicer to you. And they treat you better than what they did in the past. They can afford to do that now because you got to understand, they run the entire planet. So by them owning the entire planet, they don't have to be the type of imperialistic racists that they were 100 years ago or 60 years ago. Now they run the entire planet. So naturally they can say, hey, we can all get together. That's right. It's based on a owner and a subservient relationship. You don't own shit. So they don't feel threatened by you to say that we must hold them down in that particular social manner. You see what I'm saying? But the elite feel threatened by you because the simple fact that they know ultimately it's our planet. So when you see white people saying, let's all get together and why can't we get along? Hell, we don't own shit. We don't own nothing. So therefore we're not a threat. But let's say if it was, because that's a master-slave relationship there. Well, let's say if we had an equality going on. Mm-hmm. And we own the portion and they own the portion, then they would have problems. Then you see another story. And they only got this way now because they have taken over the entire planet. So there they can have a little humaneness about them, or the appearance of being humane, because the simple fact we don't own nothing. You understand what I'm saying? Right. Let's just look at just things that they think of when they think that just on a uneven level. Let's take affirmative action. Let's take any little entitlement programs that we got. Whereas the white man basically still owns things, but he feels that whatever little crumbs he's giving us is too much, then they got problems. So if they got problems with the fucking crumbs that they give us, you understand what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And it is basically psychologically and mathematically right to train your slave to be up to par where you give him a certain amount of opportunities because he's going to do right by you.
That's right.
But even in that particular level, these motherfuckers say no. The crumbs is too much for you. And we know the last 10 years has been an ongoing drive to cut off the entitlement programs that they have given us, and as a result, they have devastated black communities around the world. Just look at the black construction, the black construction sites, and black people that work in construction and buildings. They can't even get doggone contracts because they cut out certain laws. So even the crumbs, when they even think it's even the aspect of equality, which is not, even the minimum wage they got problems with. You see what I'm saying? They got problems with. So there is a master-slave relationship. So when they appear to be humane, that just means that they own every damn thing. If the shoe was on the other foot, if you just had a third of what they got, they would have problems. You see what I'm saying? They would actually have problems. So this is a great day today because it's the 10-year anniversary of when I first came to New York. I came to speak for a sister named Bert in 1994, but it was 10 years ago in 1993 that I made it up to Harlem in front of Hakeem Bey's. Used to have a table to sell books, and in front of the Mark 121, and I started talking, and the next thing I had 300 people out there, and it was a spiritual phenomenon, and from that, the people who heard me speak just on the street came to those lectures and things, and as a result, I had a brother, Bill Lilly, who was one of my good friends, who was out there that particular day, and as a result, 10 years ago, we became good friends, and I saw him for the first time since 1998. Last time I saw him, it was the day that John Henry Clark died. I saw him for the first time yesterday, and it was a spiritual gathering. So I'm saying this is a 10-year anniversary to come back to let you know also, too, the shit ain't changed. You know what I'm saying? And we put these tapes out here to let people know that you are always at a deficit and a disadvantage. Because until you understand the world system, so it is gone beyond the individual race. There's going to be no black people marrying white people, you know what I'm saying, and all this kind of thing here. You got white people merged into that, but you got to understand there's a bigger culture and a world domination. They can afford to spare a couple of thousand. You see what I'm saying? But ultimately, and this war shows you that we just coming off this Iraqi war, that imperialism and the white man way of rule is still dominant. You see what I'm saying?
That's right.
So what we want to do is, at this particular time right now, is I want to call on a certain amount of spiritual entities to bring some energy to this thing, and also we can do this thing right. I want to spit the rum to the ancestors and what I was and to piggyback off. Some people say, well, you think it's all right to spit the rum. First of all, you got to understand something here. We got to get out of this religious aspect. The spirits know what time it is. There's a science in spitting the rum, because the rum and the alcohol is called a spiritus. So this is a gateway into the other realm. If the gods require this, why can't the ancestors, who are gods, require the same thing? So what we want to do is pour a little bit in the glass, libate and injustice for the speaking purpose. And I want to spit this 4 ways. This old Europe and old African tradition. To give them the actual energy. We want to do that, and I'm going to call on a couple of entities that's very important to me at this particular time to get this ball rolling, so we can have so they can create a vessel that we can give this to the people in Harlem, and the people around the New York area, and the people around the actual world. Because the last tape was very successful and all, and I hope it becomes a standard for the hip-hop community, just like I hope it becomes a standard for people who have lost their fucking way.
And they mind, man.
And they damn mind.
That's right.
And when they sitting up there and their children dead, and they trying to make sense of this damn bullshit, and in the back of their mind, that bullshit religion ain't damn holding no water. They can understand that this shit here is white supremacy ongoing. You see what I'm saying? And so some people say, well, you know, we need to get past it. I'm saying, but you got to understand, we're still in a physical body, which means that we need clothing, food, shelter, water, or whatever. And as long as we are in that physical body, we know that the man who rules this world gonna make sure that we gotta go through him for that bullshit.
That's right.
And if it's not the people who say they're self-sufficient, the masses of the people are on lockdown because of this shit. So therefore, it is always pertinent for us to be concerned about the world rulers. That's just bottom line. If they can holler freedom, the last damn 2 months of racket freedom, 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 freedom. So how dare them to even contemplate freedom, and we sit up here and say we shouldn't worry about those things. You understand what I'm saying? We got to understand that this shit here is ruled by might and imperialistic force and by mind control every day. And they have fucked up the minds of our people.
Yeah.
So we want to deal with this right now. Okay, so I'm just going to call on a couple of entities. Zarabanda, Zarabanda, Zarabanda. Ashe. El Cristo Negro.
Ashe.
Las Spiritus in Tranquilas.
Ashe.
Santissimo Muerte.
Ashe.
San Simón.
Ashe.
El Cristo Rey.
Ashe.
Madre de la Luna.
Ashe.
Madre de Agua.
Ashe.
Santissima Petra Iman.
Ashe.
Francisco de C.A. Quirellos. Mama Shola.
Ashe.
Tecambo. Locayo.
Ashe.
Otija. Tiacha. Sheola.
Ashe.
Alcala.
Ashe.
Lavado, Lavado,
Ashe.
Lavado. Oluwalensu.
Ashe.
Omagumu.
Ashe.
Shumala.
Ashe.
Shumala.
Ashe.
Yiminya Oya Oshun.
Ashe.
Kimafis, Cam, Osar, Aset, Heru, Heru Rahar, Harsefi, Heru Heru Nut, Mayat, Sekmet, Sashet, Selket, Anana, Ishtar, Nashachetu, Lilith, Layla, Lilitu, Shiva, Virtua, Dani, Dionysus, Eros, Aphrodite, Astarte, Eros, Ishtar, Kali, Kalima, Cam, Kimafis, Fatis, Fatinan, Upwaret, Mayat, Sekmayat, Nepter, Heru, Ptah, Amin-Ra, Amin-Rintansa, Kulakulu, Yosatos, Nilanhotep, Kimafis, Cam, Sam, After Earth, Harsefi, Echidna, Hecate, Heket, Peket, Breket, Seket, Mil, Minovis, Muntu, Kimu, Camera, Cthulhu, Yosatos, Shigmigara, After Earth, Harsefi, Harsefi. So we'll deal with that. All ancestors known and unknown. All gods known and unknown is on our side. We come together today in this great memorial, momentous place to put down ongoing aspects of the revolution. The revolution is televised not for the masses, but for the people who own the frequency.
At the House of Consciousness at the War Bunker.
There you go.
That's the name you gave me.
That's right.
The War Bunker.
That's right. The War Bunker, and basically, this is the resistance group. You see those movies like what's that movie? Running Man, whatever, where they got to blow up the damn TV station, but the resistance groups always come back home. The resistance group, you saw it in Demolition Man. There's always a resistance group, and we are always in resistance. This consciousness here is that somebody got to do it. Someone has to be in resistance. Our ancestors fought, and there's always been resistance groups.
That's right.
There's always been resistance groups. They don't tell you that they had thousands or hundreds of slave revolts throughout the Caribbean and even America. And they don't tell you. You got a history channel that comes on, which is dedicated to white imperialism. And yet, they're not even, if you're saying that everything is everything and everybody is everybody, why are you denying history? You see, you can't tell me that we are equal. You can't tell me that we need to come together, and you deny me the history of your tyranny against me. If you're going to say you my friend, if you're going to say that we are equal and we not be racist and we need to come together as brothers, why can't you give me my history? Case in point, you got a history channel that comes on, and they will talk about history of the mafia. They'll talk about history of all kind of bullshit, but they won't give you history of Toussaint L'Ouverture and Dessalines, who took over Haiti.
Or Nat Turner.
Nat Turner. They won't give you history of the Maroon societies. They won't give you history of Denmark Vesey. They won't even give you history even in Christianity when you talk about a brother like Richard Allen. Richard Allen was a person that started the AME Church, which was equivalent to Elijah Muhammad in his day in the 1700s. You see what I'm saying?
And even if they was to try to give it to you, they always will water it down and distort it.
Right.
And this is what we mean about the white mindset today.
Right.
This is a sick mind today, and we're going to so improve that.
Exactly.
You know.
So my point here is, if you say that we need to bury the hatchet, then you need to lay the history on the table, because that's still colonized, as Professor John Henry Clark said, the late John Henry Clark, peace be upon him, would say, they have colonized history. And it was a white boy that told me this. A white boy in a metaphysical shop. He said, and this was in 1999, this was right after the movie The Matrix came out. And we're getting ready to go see another movie on The Matrix in May something, coming out in a couple of weeks. And right after that, he stepped to me, he said, look, America's in trouble. He said, but America's not in trouble based on the way they treat people. Yes, they can make sure that some black people get enough to eat, but that's not good enough. We still on the slave level. He said, in order for America, karmically, to redeem itself, they got to open up the annals and the books. And they got to become correct. And they got to tell the truth on the history that they have done on their subjects. The Native Americans, the Mexicans, which is Native Americans, or Olmec. The black person that not only was in the aspect of slaves brought from Africa, but the black Moors that they put into slavery when they got here. All kinds of people that was already here. They have to come and they have to give the history. And they got to open up the annals of history, not just the history of slavery, and not just the history of them being brutes against us, but the true history of how we were the world admirers. We were admired in the world, and we were the actual standard bearers of all that was good in education and decent, and even in morals. Even the word morals get its word from the Moors. But even in the standard bearer of civilization, they got to open up the annals of history and tell the people that, which we know they're not going to do because it's not their nature. But then again, on the other hand, I'm saying this, that when people say that let's forget all of that and let's just try to coexist together, my point here, there will be no coexisting when I'm at a subhuman level, and I'm a subhuman level when I don't know my history and when my history is not being taught to the world. That's like a black person that don't know their history. It's like owning a fucking Lexus, owning a VCR, owning a DVD, owning a computer without the fucking owner's manual. Can you imagine owning a computer without the owner's manual? Or without the software to tell you how to operate shit?
That's right.
Well, that's what's going down with damn black people.
That's like having a car and they keep the key and shit.
Exactly.
And you can't get in it to start the motherfucking
That's
motor.
right. So I don't want to hear nothing of some stupid nigga saying that I've made it. You ain't nothing but a painting on the wall going along with a society that can do anything. And we saw this with this last Iraqi war. Because this is 2003. Want to put that right. That we saw this thing happen where black people just go along with shit. We don't even ask questions why, even in the history, why the churches don't oppose nothing. Because they're all under the 501c3 law, tax exempt. And they are an institution under the government. You see what I'm saying? The church is supposed to be the first person at the vanguard opposing the war when they say thou shalt not kill. But yet they oppose this. But then again, on the other, they support this. Excuse me. But then again, on the other hand, the church is always support it because when it comes to the major religions that support the world at this particular time, those particular ones coexist with tyranny. You see what I'm saying? And they couldn't have half these wars if the damn religious doctrine didn't support it. So therefore, it's always going along, especially in the European tradition, with war. You see what I'm saying? So it is very key because they're talking about Iraq and what they need to do. They need to change their religion now. Well, wait a minute, hold on. That's arrogant. They need to change their religion because they're saying, you know, from religious fundamentalism. I'm like, hold on. Christianity is very well had the same kind of damn history. As a matter of fact, if you just go right back a couple of weeks ago, a couple of months ago, I'm quite sure you will find the President of the United States and everybody else invoking religious concepts to even support this bullshit war. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
God bless our troops. God bless America. You see. So
yeah, what's up with that shit with Al Sharpton and all these other people piggybacking and shit saying, I don't support the war, but I support the troops.
Well,
that sounds crazy.
That's like saying...
That's an oxymoron right there.
Yeah. I don't support the mafia who sent the hit man.
Right.
I support the hit man.
Right. What kind of
that
shit
carries the shit out.
They buck dancing, man.
They showed a boy over there with both arms blown off.
Yeah, I saw that. Uh-huh.
It was the troops that blew his arm off, not the motherfuckers in Washington, D.C.
Mm-hmm.
So how the hell are you going to say that I don't support the mindset of war, but I support the killers? These are killers.
That's right.
And these the same damn people. You say you support them now, well, you're going to have to support them when they go into Africa and kill your people.
Exactly. And because they already did now.
Because they're in North Africa doing it now, because that's what Arabia is, because Basra was 85% blue-black Negroes. So this kind of stuff, because Al Sharpton is a government agent, and that's a part of him running for the presidency. He got to say stuff like that, Reverend Buffon.
Mm-hmm.
You don't support that, but you support the truth. Well, since when did we start supporting the truth? That's a white man phenomenon anyway. That the troops are somehow admired, a killer.
That's right.
Compared to your standards. If you don't, if you are against something, you damn sure better be against the troops that come in. Because my point here is, if a person was against a war, and you spoke out against the war, or you against, if you were about self-defense, then the first people you're going to kill in the war is the damn troops. The policy makers never die. So the point I'm trying to make here is how the fuck you going to, that's an oxymoron, like you said.
That's right.
You know, that is contradiction at its finest. I don't support the war, but I support the troops. Damn the troops. They should have blown that black girl's head off and let her shoot her in the goddamn foot when she was taken prisoner, because the parents now are celebrating her as a war hero.
That's right.
But if they had blown her fucking head off, they would have been talking shit to Bush about you killed my daughter. Mm-hmm. So she sets up the future of other black girls going up in there getting killed.
That's right.
You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Admiring some false bullshit that's going on. So we don't even want to hear this thing about we support the troops. And I told him, I said, you know, we're world-class people, and you got to worry about this particular point, whereas you got to say to yourself, I got to write the troops off when they go up in here. This is 2003, and you're supposed to know better. And especially a person that go into a war for a career. Most of those black people that's in that war is not up in there for ideals that they love the country so much. They're in there based on a career.
That's right. So
for a person that will go up in there just for the simple fact that they want to get doggone minimum wage, $1.75 or whatever, $5 an hour. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Or whether it's $15 an hour, or $10 an hour, $4 an hour. Anybody that would go up in there and go up in there for livelihood other than, you know, trying to protect their lives because, shit, there ain't no terrorism. Anybody that would go up in there and all, it was a snake in the grass to do anything. they will kill people around the world for this white man. You see what I'm saying? So I don't respect the soldiers because they all have a choice, especially since 1991 when they realized when the white man would go back to war on a major scale. That's what was the bullhorn to tell black people, look, we need to start thinking about not going into the army because we went to the Gulf War and we saw even what happened with Gulf War syndrome. You see what I'm saying? So we got 10 years to regroup and try to find out what we're going to do. So any Negro that's caught up in there after 1991, I give less than a damn about.
And 1993.
Yeah.
In Somalia.
That's right, 1993.
A lot of people don't know Clinton was the president.
Was the president.
Sent him over in Africa.
Not only was he the only president that went to Africa, but he was the first president to invade Africa.
Oh, damn. Now, I ain't know that.
And they partied that. They partied with it. Last person invaded North Africa was Hitler. You see what I'm saying? But he was the first president to invade Africa. But the point here is, they had 10 years to see the signs. You see what I'm saying? So we won't even support that type of thing. But here it goes again. We're still talking about white supremacy and the imperialistic forces of fascism. White fascist paradigm that covers the entire planet. As a matter of fact, what we're talking about now here is it's more than just if you don't accept my physical body. There's a lot of white people trying to be black now.
That's right.
With the whole hip-hop thing, especially their children. It's not a matter of whether you don't accept my physical body. What they're saying now here is you don't think like me in a European thought form. You're not human. So the European thought has colonized the planet. Whereas if you don't think on a European paradigm, you like the dinosaurs. That's how far this thing has gotten. It's gotten beyond the physical. It's a mentality, which is the greatest form of oppression. You see what I'm saying? So with no further ado, we need to try to understand the nature of this particular person. The nature of him is, you got two aspects, two schools of thought, and we find out that both ones occurred. One school of thought is climate adaptability. And this is how you can get a few white folks who have souls and who have some type of black genetic trait. Black genetic trait. That's climate adaptability, where black people, being the original people on Earth, ended up adapting or mutating into what is called a type of European. The other part, which we also have more evidence on, is white genetic engineering, a hybrid human or a hybrid android or some type of counterfeit human, immigrant human.
Would you say that the white race come from you? Because I always deny that, man.
Well, you got to understand, based on what we got as far as the research of of how this thing actually went down, was we talking about, first of all, we're talking about genetic engineering. And in so many words, we talk about a cloning process. And in that cloning process, we got not only human DNA, which is the only connection with us, ape DNA, pig DNA, and different type of animal DNA. So whether it came from us or not, you got to understand there's other factors that came into this whole grafting process or this cloning process. There's so much information which I'm going to get ready to spit out in a few minutes. I want you to get the tape Human Artificial. It's also called a hybrid human.
I got it.
There's Human Artificial 1 and 2.
Right.
Then there's Human Artificial, and then there's also there's also the newer version called Immigrant Humans, hybrid the creation of a hybrid white race or whatever. And then there's just so much scholarship and documentation.
Oh, okay.
And that's why I asked the people to get that particular take on the scholarship and the documentation of this particular genetic cloning aspect. So we're not just spitting out things that are based on us not doing the research. There's that much research on the planet on this particular person being a grafted or a made type of man or some type of laboratory experiment.
Mm-hmm.
Laboratory experiment. So now when we're dealing with that type of thing here and we're dealing with that particular person, we're talking about a consortium of different types of DNA. So other than having a head, 2 arms, a leg, and a torso, that human aspect of that particular person, now there's some other things that's factored in. And some of that stuff has to do with animal DNA. Even the Rudolf Steiner's book Atlantis and Memoria makes reference to that, which he was a contemporary of your boy H.G. Wells, who wrote the book The Island of Dr. Moreau, which shows you how this thing is done based on grafting animals into this particular white girl.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying? Which they thought it was such a great movie to portray their race until they got one of the greatest actors ever to play it. Marlon Brando played Yakub. But we also have the Yakub Kur, which is a Hyksos deity. Hyksos being an invader of Kemet at a certain time. We also have Yakub. We found a book called Semitic Magic. It came out, Samuel Wise came out with this thing. It's called Semitic Magic, and in this book it's talking about stuff from Babylonia, Mesopotamia, and they have this particular entity, Yakub, son of demons, which is actually in the actual book. If you want to say that the Yakub thing, me personally, I think it's some type of ancient priesthood from Kemet. Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that the Egyptians created it, but then again, I've heard the Egyptians out of their own mouth in the Hermetic material by Walter Scott say our biggest problem is we learned how to create another man. That's in Walter Scott's book on translating of the Library of Alexandria, where the Egyptians admit that they created a particular man. In the temple of Seti I, Ramesses V, they talk about the Amu and the Ruti, the Seti and the Ruti, the most ancient particular parts of man, the most ancient type of people on earth, created the Tamahu, and the Tamahu means the created white man. So they talk about that page 41 or 42 in Gerald Massey's book, Book of the Beginnings, Volume 1. Book of the Beginnings, Volume 1, he talks about the Tamahu also. So there's so much evidence on this particular creation thing, and I don't want to take up most of the time trying to document things and all this. Just tons and tons and tons of things. The Nag Hammadi collection by James Robinson talks about counterfeit spirits being created down here, and so I add so much information. The Astrobotic, Lieutenant Colonel A.E. Powell's book talks about this counterfeit spirit, this spook that is not even a real person at all. So there's so much information on this particular created white man, whatever. But what we want to deal here with is, because we're talking about a hybrid type of creation. Only reason why we're even talking about this grafting thing, to try to let you know what you're up against as far as it being the nature of these people. Now, what is the nature? We're talking about, because it is not necessarily the original stock of human, it has a guilt deficiency. So people say, how can you have a guilt deficiency? What is that? I say, no, you have it. It's called, they got a new term for it. It's called sociopath. If they can justify in their minds that everything is all right, then somehow they can overt or avoid responsibility based on mentally, which is the guilt process. They can avoid that. That's what a sociopath is. A sociopath, no matter what they do with people, they never think that they've done anything wrong. So we're talking about them as being a sociopathic behavior. Let's give you an example. Even in their history, where they admit that they killed off the Native Americans, how the fuck you gonna say God bless America and freedom, and the land is not even your land. You killed off of people and put another people in slavery, but the other history is that half the people they killed off of the land was black people. When you talk about your Washita, your Blackfoot, and all these different types of native people here that was indigenous Olmec people that they killed off, that was over here before slavery.
And they will look you in your eyes and deny it, man.
Deny it and all, and so it's even the white boy Marlon Brando, when he won the Academy Award in the 1960s, and he sent the Native American to oppose the Academy Award or oppose the white race. She said she's reading what Marlon Brando said, he said even when we talk about the Native American, a native indigenous person, it's almost like this was a person on another continent a billion years ago that you killed off. So we're talking about a sociopathic type behavior and a guilt deficiency in the nature of this hybrid human. If somehow he or she can justify their actions, and it can be falsehood on when they justify it, it can be a fantasy, then somehow they can overt or avoid responsibility based on guilt. And they do it all the time. They generally think that God is going to bless America. You know what I'm saying? They generally think, based on whatever propaganda, that they are righteous. And everything is divine in what they do and what decisions they make, even if it allows the decision to kill off indigenous people. Just like they justified the war on Iraq. But they didn't. They went in there and they fought a war and they killed. Not only did they kill, it was thousands of Americans that got killed, but it was thousands of Iraqis that got killed. But the thing about it here is they went in to stop weapons of mass destruction and to get Saddam Hussein. And when they got in there, they didn't get Saddam Hussein, and they haven't found no weapons of mass destruction. But because they have a sociopathic nature, only thing they got to do is create another scenario that will justify what they did. And the sociopathic nature or the guilt deficiency will compensate for whatever hideous aspect and reason that they go up in there, that they did go up in there and stuff. So we're talking about the nature of an immigrant human. He's called the intruder in the Kabbalah. An intruder is a person that wasn't there in the beginning, but that is now intruding and masquerading as it being a legitimate human being. And how do they do that? They dehumanize others just to pull off the charade of them being human. So they level other people, and then they will put on an example of how they are human. You see what I'm saying? On the contrast of dehumanizing others and the other particular people, and not letting the other people know that the origin of their dehumanization is based on this white boy. So he can somehow mask his pathologies and his damn insanities and his inhumanness by dehumanizing others. So if you dehumanize somebody, then you only have to be this much of human to be above the person that you dehumanize. So when it comes to them in the aspect of war and tyranny and treachery, they only have to justify it a little bit because they have dehumanized the other form of the world. And so our standard on the way we look at things as black people is very low. So therefore, we don't put him in check for the simple doggone fact he has lowered us based on dehumanization and to his standard on how he does things can be elusive and be evasive and also be destructive and an illusionary type of standard. And number one, how do you dehumanize people? Well, you dehumanize your subjects by making your people only concentrate on the survival level. Our people are stuck in a survival mode So they don't have time to contemplate higher ideals and higher ideas. Because we're so busy trying to survive out here. You see. So if he has false ideals on the European thought on what he thinks is noble, you will accept that because you want such a low level of survival. You see. And because you have lost your blueprint of what is human, your record of what is humane. You see what I'm saying? Because that has been destroyed, you will take anything he gives you. And he'll take anything you give you because you being in the mud, even getting fed on the battlefield, is a high level. You see what I'm saying? So, we can't detect nothing and stuff because our state is so deplorable. And the ones who are living high on the hog, they have merged themselves with him in ideas and ideals until they are just nothing but honorary white folks.
Well, let me say this to you, brother. When I be outside on 125th Street with my table, the pictures that you see right there, I have those pictures laid out where everybody sees them walking by. And when they look down at the pictures, this is coming from brothers, sisters, you know, teachers that come by with the children, and I'll be out there teach the youth the truth. They all look at me kind of mean. And they say, brother, why are you showing those pictures? I mean, I got proof from the people that's going to see this tape. They know I'm not lying. They say, brother, why are you showing those pictures, man? We need to get past that. What are you trying to start out here? I said, well, all I'm doing is giving you a memory. I'm trying to bring back the memory of what happened. This is a reality check, and we all need to see this. They say, well, you know, I'm not going to teach my babies about that. So if you're not going to teach them about that, then that means you're lying to them. You see what I'm saying? You want to teach them a lie.
All we are as humans in the physical realm is a collection of what we've gone through in the past. A collective memory of the past. Now, tell them this. Ask them why they don't think that it's a problem that you can't graduate most public high schools, not unless you have some form of U.S. history. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
Let's do one even better. Let's take this thing personal because U.S. history is kind of advanced for these kind of idiots. Let's look at this. Right now, they will go and they are concerned about whatever they do out here. Black people are concerned about their credit. They're concerned about if they do certain things that it's going to fuck up their credit and they won't be able to get certain goods and services or be allowed to have certain privileges in this society based on the credit being messed up. So let's look at this. Here's a white man that just based on credit. From the day you born, they give you a social security number now as soon as you come out the womb. From the day you born, they track you as a record of not only credit, but where you are in the world, if you are at least where you are in the United States. You have to have everything about his society, you have to be accountable for it. You drive down the street, you better have a driver's license. You get on the airplane, you better have an ID. Not just some ID you make up, it's got to be federal ID. You get when you get a phone bill, light bill, gas bill, anything, these are credit. These are things that say, I exist in America. Everything you do has to be based on what this white man has. Checks and balances of your life. He checks up on you every day based on his credit. So why aren't you able to keep a record on him? He keeps a record on you from the day you born.
Ooh, man, that's deep there.
He keeps a record on you whether you went to college, you want to get a job. He has a record on where your educational structure is, what kind of training you got, everything he does. And when you get the job, he keeps a record on your performance, evaluation. Everything he does in this society is based on what type of record you do as a human. So why is it if he is allowed to keep a record on you in your everyday life, and you accept this, why aren't you allowed to keep a record on him and how he rules over you and the history of what he's done to you?
Without you niggas always talking about that's racist or you being racist and
so they're
that's
telling you
hatred.
to get past it.
You know?
They're telling you to get past you having a record on him, yet his society is based on him having a record on you and your accountability towards him and how he can track what accountability and what your relationship you had towards him as a human. But when it comes to you, this is a slave mentality. You can't keep a record on him. You see what I'm saying? You can't keep a record on him. But yet you can't graduate no high school. Where you a public high school where you don't have black American history, excuse me.
And yet my own people will call me all types of racist because I will tell them how the white man will cut off the black man's penis, how he burned us alive, how he tortured us, how he cut the black woman's belly open. When I talk like that around the people, they call me a hater. How can I be a racist and a hater by me telling you what has happened to you?
Right.
I'm simply giving you the history.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I don't understand that, brother. That's what you were talking about before, about the psychic of the black man, how the white man has reversed it.
Exactly.
Now, you see what I'm saying?
Exactly.
If we start talking about our pain and what happened to us, he gets us to argue with each other, telling us, yo, that's racist.
Well,
all types of shit start hitting in our head.
Let's go one better. Most black people we see in North America are Christians, based on what was given to them. Now, Christianity itself is a history of some form of martyrdom that is done to the hero of that particular cult. In so many words, the figure that the people admire and they give their lives over and they revere as being the center or the archetype of what they should study and know more about and try to be like is Jesus Christ. And Jesus Christ is a person that is crucified. Yet, they can accept the crucifixion of a person that they don't know it was 2,000 years ago. They have no idea that this thing even happened. And for all intents and purposes, the one that they accepted as being the person that they are going to celebrate the crucifixion of, or the martyrdom of, is a white man. So how is it you can accept the martyrdom of a white man 2,000 years ago that you didn't even know? Because, you know, as far as the pictures they give us, but you can't accept the crucifixion of people that we have evidence of that was even in your own era, in your lifetime. Isn't this a contradiction? That the religion, that the entire religion that you accept to turn your life over to, religion of crucifixion. A religion of execution of 2,000 years ago, but yet you can't accept the execution of a person in your own time. You see what I'm saying? That's a double standard. That's a form of insanity. So for the mere fact that you can accept the mythology, because it's a mythology, this is the true Jesus Christ. Because we know that the real thing didn't exist. There was no person 2,000 years ago that did these things. It was talking about prophecy and talking about a people that will be crucified. Well, this is the real crucifixion, shit that you can see in your own life and time. You understand what I'm saying? These things was happening. Most people, even if you're young, your parents are still living, and this was going on in their lifetime. They have had crucifixions that they have had hanging of black people as late as the 1990s. They've had them in the 1980s. So this is something that's going on in our lifetime.
Show some more.
You see? So how in the hell you gonna say that you can, one crucifixion is valid enough that you can center your whole life around as far as a religion? But yet, you need to get past the same thing that is being occurred, that is having been occurred right in your lifetime.
That's right.
And yet, 98% of black people have never seen these pictures. You see what I'm saying? Never seen these pictures. The crucifixion, well, let's deal with it this way. If some of these things never happened, and we're not saying that the Romans didn't crucify people, but since you mix mythology with history, and the mythology is a crucified person, either in ancient times or whatever, still yet the motif of crucifixion, the motif of execution, is what you base around dying for martyrdom, or dying to save a people. Why can't you accept the crucifixion that went on in your own lifetime? We give you say it's not valid. Because my life is affected by Jesus Christ. Only psychologically. Only psychologically. You're affected based on principles that you were taught. Well, let's go one further. We do know that the civil rights movement that lit, and we're not talking about the one that just the one that was established by the Spingard brothers or the Jews, established by other people to get you to do a certain way that they want you to go. But we're talking about the civil rights movement all over this country, which you had several types of movements. You had one here in New York with Adam Clayton Powell and that whole crew, and you had several types of movements. I mean, even with the whole Muslim Nation of Islam thing, is still in the same struggle. That directly affected us. Even the way we live today is based on those movements. With Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, Adam Clayton Powell, you see what I'm saying? The list goes on and on. The point I'm trying to make here is the spark of those movements was not your girl getting on the bus, Rosa Parks. She got on the bus almost a year later. The spark of those movements came about based on a crucifixion, an execution of a 14-year-old black boy called Hemmitt. And because his mother made the decision to put his mutilated body on display, black people, in their minds, in 1964, 1965 or whatever, made up their mind they wasn't going to take it no more. And this affected the outcome of the movement, of the civil rights movement, and conscious movements, and the movements of struggle and justice for the next 50 damn years. So the spark that is directly related to your life, more so than a person 2,000 years ago, started off a crucifixion with Hemmitt, crucified in Mississippi. But if you trace the history of, especially in the 20th century, we had started making these particular protests, and these, our voice be known, with black lynchings as far back as the early 1900s, which culminated into Hemmitt by being a person that was so young until we just couldn't take it anymore. So my point here is we are part of our existence today in the modern aspect of whether we say we in just a latter part of slavery, but when we talk about some gains that did happen, it came because of crucifixion, which is more relevant to our lives now than some Jesus Christ of 2,000 years ago. You see what I'm saying? Which was a mythology of the world 16 crucified saviors, which is a mythology that predates Christianity 10,000 years. The dying god be Osiris, Tammuz, Dionysus. You see what I'm saying? They got tons of gods that died. Prometheus,
So
Achilles.
So how have these religions of today really affected the black man and woman? Christianity, Islam, and Judaism. Let me tell you this, brother. I have Muslims that come back and forth past my table, Muslims from here, born in America, and I will ask them a simple question, like, and brothers will tell you when they see this tape, they're going to be like, yeah, that's a good question to ask them. Brothers will come to me and say, because this white man over here is a Muslim and bowed down and believing in Allah, and because I don't bow down and believing in Allah, that white man is more their brother than I am. These are black people from here. Shabazz will tell you, man. We get into heated debates with dumb motherfuckers like that.
Dr. Ben once said that a lot of the religions are not irrational. Irrational people go into them. I have to disagree in the aspect that some of this shit is irrational. But then again, it was not when he was making the statement. Because some of these religions was meant for a small group of people at that particular time that these things occurred. And that was their own personal liberating tool based on what situation they caught themselves into when it was formed around them. When we talk about religions other than the universal mystery systems, you see what I'm saying, that taught principles that's universal, that predates religion, but we're talking about this context of religions, what we find ourselves stuck into today. Those religions, when they came about, was a certain social, cultural, and customary impact of a small group of people at that particular time when these particular religions rose up. But it didn't mean that the shit is relevant to us today, when you got a total different situation. And what it meant was, when those religions rose up, they weren't meant to accommodate other people years later, other races years later. You see what I'm saying? When some of this stuff is ancestral motifs, it's got something to do with us. You see what I'm saying? So when these things rose up, it was for a select group of people and a social fundamental aspect with universal sprinkles, pockets of information. But now here you are far removed from them 2,000 years and thinking this shit is relevant to you. And now you make decisions that don't make no damn sense by including an enemy that is clear on one thing. You might not be clear of the white Muslim that you might be unclear whether he's your brother or not, but he is clear because he told you so when he started slavery in the past and slavery in the present that the Muslim niggas don't want to deal with. They have had slavery in Saudi Arabia in the 1980s. They got slavery in Mauritania and in the Sudan going on to this day. So you gonna tell me that based on a doctrine that happened 2,000 years ago of some savage?
That's right.
That the result of black people in the aspect of why they came into Islam is all negative, because we came into Islam based on somebody imposing slavery on us to give us this foolishness.
That's right.
That's how we get it. I want to hear nothing about the nature of the black man. Islam is the nature of the black man and stuff like that. Because first of all, you got to explain to me then. You got to explain to me in the previous cultures on how, if you're going to say that Islam is the nature of the black man, then you got to explain to me in previous cultures before that shit that the Arabs brought in there, got there, you got to explain to me, or were we dealing with the same thing? Yes, there's motifs and different customs that the Arabs brought to us that we already had. But what I'm trying to tell you here is Islam and African spirituality, our ancient spirituality, is fundamentally different. In the particular aspect that one is the blueprint and one is the watered down model that is fit for a savage Arab. And they were only giving you a fragment or indication of the greatness of what happened with the black man prior to that. And it was meant for the white Arab.
That's right.
Wasn't meant for you. Hell, you are the embodiment of the godhood in which the damn book is talking about. You see? Now we can get into the metaphysical and historical aspect on how this is. You see what I'm saying? But the point about it here is you are only got a fragment of what you call religion, or what you call Islam, compared to the ancient mystery systems of the Africans. And I want to get this word out of the way, because I don't want to put this continental thing of Africa, of the indigenous black man, because we were all over this planet.
That's right.
So I don't want to relegate myself and sequester myself and marginalize myself on the continent of Africa, because all this earth is ours. You see what I'm saying? And Islam don't even begin to even give you the first page of the miraculous greatness of the universal and cosmic knowledge and advanced spiritualism that we put forth. That's a refresher course for a savage. But the point I'm trying to make here is, the only thing they have shown us is slavery. Not humility to God, because we already had that, and we not only do we have humility to God, we had the real mystery behind the humility to God, that we are gods. That's a whole nother lecture.
But when you say that to the Muslim, hold up. What you mean, you Allah?
Well, my point here is
I say fuck Allah, man.
my point here is with the Muslim, like you saying. The Muslim and the Christian that they call ignorant is one and the same.
Exactly.
Like Dr. Ben said, only thing you doing is going from the damn pot to the frying pan. You gonna get burnt either way. You see what I'm saying? Hell, Islam puts you even more on lockdown, because they're saying that you can't even use your brain to rationalize shit.
That's right.
To make any kind of damn sense.
And you're right, because it is so hard. But I told him about a man by the name of Akhenaten, who ruled in the 18th dynasty, who taught the concept of monotheism.
Right.
They like, Akhenaten, they can't go with that story.
They can't even go with the story that the Egyptians always dealt with monotheism when they called the one God and the God one. If you get E. Wallace Budge's book, From Fetish to God in Ancient Egypt, in his introduction, he said, I wrote the book Gods of the Egyptians 15 years prior to this, and this was like 1935, his last book. He figured it out. He said, but now I understand, writing in the light of day, that they always worship one God and the God one. And the different levels with the different attributes of the gods. Just like the Muslims say that Allah has 99 attributes. You see what I'm saying?
That's right.
Have 99 attributes. That is the explanation of the one God or the God one that they call the hidden God, Amun-Ra.
And when I always explain to them that we've been had the Kaaba, that represents the spirit and the soul, you know, when the goddamn desert Arabs came down into Kemet, into Egypt, and started raping us and making us, if you don't say Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah la sharika lahu, if you don't take your shahada in the name of their Allah, they will kill you, man. Islam was forced on us. Now try to tell the people that we've been had something called the Kaaba, and it didn't mean no house of God, no stone. The real Kaaba exists within you. They look at me like I'm fucking crazy,
Plus
man.
what you're dealing with here is mental illness, because religion is insanity.
That's right.
Because whenever you try to somehow omit conscious, rational, logical thought of how the world works around you to fit a doctrine of another person's worldview, although it don't make no sense, what happens here is the brain In order to function, it has to go dormant when it comes to the processes of rational thought. So what happened is the process that the brain goes through to give you the real truth, it has to shut down to accept this doctrine. So as a result, you become an irrational monster in your thinking, because the doctrine that you have accepted, you see what I'm saying, is not a blueprint of your whole life. And what it does is the body has to go dormant and atrophy in certain functions just to support this irrational doctrine. They tell you not to think. Bow down and not to think. And what we don't understand, it was not meant for the indigenous black person. It was meant for a savage white Arab. Just as Christianity was meant for the incoming Europeans, or the future Europeans, who did not have a history of decent behavior. These are behavioral modification doctrines, because these people needed to have this stuff woven into a doctrine on how to behave.
Keep their nature in check.
To keep their nature in check, whereas we had rites of passages on behavior modification, on behavior, on how to behave in a civilized society that didn't have nothing to do with religion. We learned this shit here as a child. So the rest of the doggone time, we learn higher levels of spirituality. But here we are, we copying a white Arab, which this is his particular therapy manual. You see what I'm saying? To somehow root him out of savagery. And now we looking at this as this is the highest principle of the universe. You see what I'm saying? And so that's our curse. That's our curse. You see, on that particular level. But the point about it here is going back. How is it that everyone that comes to us to get us to follow a cause? To follow a cause and put our life on the line as a cause will give you their martyrdom, their tragedy. You become all teary-eyed on their tragedy, but you're not allowed to see your tragedy. See where I'm coming from here?
That's right. Without being called a racist. That's just crazy.
You don't call the Israelis, the fake Jews, and their ongoing aspect to try to explain to you that the concentration camp is the most severe thing on the planet. You don't call them racist.
Knowing when you send your babies to them goddamn schools, are they teaching you about your reality, or are they teaching you about the so-called Jews' pain and suffering?
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Right, which was manufactured.
But when you come to my table, you getting real, pure education.
Which was manufactured, because that was a consensus agreed upon.
Right.
By Hitler and the head Jewish rabbis and leaders of the Jewish community. Because before World War II, the people who were the people that was dedicated, that was looked on in the book of Psalms, that would be the people that would be suffering, was us, and this kind of stuff was going down. After World War II, they had a new person they could focus on that can corner the market on suffering. After one 6-year incident that was manufactured by the Illuminati. We're not saying it didn't happen. What we're saying, it was something that they had to give up a group of people to go through some pain and suffering so that they can doggone fabricate and masquerade as the people of pain and suffering, where ain't no way in hell they went through what we went to. It's like Anayim Akbar said, when they was in them doggone concentration camps, or when they was in them doggone infernos getting burned up, they knew that they were Jewish.
That's
They
right.
knew their history.
That's right.
98% of our people don't even know who the fuck they are.
We want to be everything, everybody.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is what keeps us divided, man. This is why we can't make that connection, man. You know?
Mm-hmm. Exactly. We want to know who we are. So my point here is, and it's in this particular picture here, like you saying, they just didn't kill the black man. They didn't give a shit about the sister.
Mm-hmm.
There's the brother.
14 years old, his pants is down. They always had to castrate the black man.
And here's his mother, isn't it?
Yeah, that's his mother.
Right.
She was only 34 years old. And they lynched him. They lynched her because she ran to her son's aid to save him. Now, if you really look at the picture, you will see them holding little white babies in their arms.
Mm-hmm.
See, I can't really zoom in on it, but there's a couple right there. You see them?
You see, so it's kind of unfair to tell you that we want to come together, speak on race relations, and get to the healing.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't unleash or free the history of what made someone ill. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
You got to open up the books, which they're not going to do because it's their nature not to. We're just trying to get black people to understand. You see, you can't tell me that it's all over now, but yet this is taboo. Or we're not allowed to talk about the history. You see what I'm saying? You don't live not unless you have a record of who the fuck you are. You see what I'm saying? So don't give me this thing about, oh, we all, no, I don't want to hear this about we all one and we all what you call it. You see what I'm saying? That's like a rapist. It raped your mama and sodomized your aunt and your brother. And then you was 6 months old when it happened. And then they raised you and said, hey, we need to forget about the past. But yet, you don't have the knowledge that these people kill your own parents. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. That's crazy. You see, that is crazy when it comes to this particular lynching. Now, you got to understand something about the history of this. These lynchings and all is not just, because if we just said,
that brother was shot in the head twice. If you look at it, you can see the holes in his head right there, right above the ear too.
Yeah.
You know?
Right.
And then you can see the white boys right there in the truck, in the car, on the horse, I mean. Just looking, you know?
Right.
But we don't want to recognize that because if I show that, then I'm teaching hate.
But my point is this. If you don't hold this thing up, if you don't recognize this, if you don't honor your people that were slain before you and paved the way for you and sacrificed so you can have a better life, then who's going to do it? My God. Someone has to do it. We need to honor these brothers and sisters who died for us. We need to call their names.
That's right.
We need to honor these brothers and sisters today that died.
You can see the white man on that one pulling his pants down, trying to kill him quick. You see it?
Yeah.
Pulling his pants, pulling him by the pants.
If we don't do it, who gonna do it? They had a woman, they were celebrating Black History Month. She said, no, I ain't gonna give them no Frederick Douglass, no Martin Luther King. I'm not gonna give them no people inventing no hot combs. This black woman in Georgia got these kind of pictures of hangings and lynchings. And she plastered them all over her front lawn. And she lived in a damn integrated community. So little white kids can come by and see the true history.
That's right.
And to the point where as the people got on her in the community by doing this. And some of the people who got on her was fucking naughty head niggas.
I wish I was with her.
And she said, wait a minute now, if we gonna talk about history, we can't be selective.
That's right.
We can't talk about one form of history and throw out another form of history when it's unpleasant to white people. You know what I'm saying?
That's right.
And she put up pictures like these. You know what I'm saying? This was not just humane, inhumane that they did this to, that they did this to doggone the black man. They did this to the black woman.
Hell yeah.
You see where we coming from? So we need to fuck damn this bullshit. If just you and us in this goddamn room today, what's the date?
27th.
The 27th.
April 27th, 03.
You see what I'm saying? That's 9. If it's just
Right.
us, we gotta honor these motherfucking brothers and sisters. You see what I'm saying? We got to honor these brothers and sisters. You see what I'm saying? And we must call their names. In this particular, we don't know their names. It's in the book. But the point about it here is, they didn't volunteer to die, but we must understand. We must understand. Other races do it, and this is a part of our humanity. As long as we in the physical, so I talk about fuck the physical, but I'm talking about on the metaphysical aspect. But as long as we in the physical, we got to deal with this shit. So this black woman, last year in Atlanta, Georgia, she put this kind of stuff up. She was probably inspired by this book. The name of the book is
Without Sanctuary.
Without Sanctuary is the name of the book. Without Sanctuary. We tell people that that we need to get this particular book. Without Sanctuary is the name of the book. Without Sanctuary. And this is interesting. Like Farrakhan said, you really use this one, which is good. This book did not go and sit on the shelf. Without Sanctuary. Now, in this particular book, it's written by James Allen, Hilton Als, and Congressman John Lewis is in here, and Leon F. Litwack. Without Sanctuary: Lynchings and Photographies in America. So it's a combination of people that wrote in this particular lynching and stuff like that. Without Sanctuary. So people need to get that particular book, and this should be a book that should be on the coffee table.
That's right. And you can also go to www.withoutsanctuary.com, and they will show you the history. These are white boys telling you how wicked they ass was, man.
Right.
So it's not me. I mean, we didn't take the pictures, man.
Right.
Why would they get mad at me or the sister?
Right. Now,
You know,
we got people of another race that feel it's important to make this book. Why can't you
That's
celebrate it?
That's right.
We need to get together, or we need to have some type of thing where we have a day set aside. Just like you have a day set aside for some type of holiday. There should be a holiday set aside for us to do celebrations to honor these slain members. You know what I'm saying? To honor these slain members. Now, I will say this particular, I'm a Afrocentric or conscious scholar. And I'm a true believer that you need to get people in that have the talent to do these types of things. So this would not be my forte to go together and put this particular thing together, because I'm giving you the type of information, bringing you this particular information. But we have all kinds of people out here just saying, you know, what's my purpose in life? You know, I got money, I've done these things, but I still feel empty. Well, maybe this is your purpose in life, to somehow to get a holiday done. And the thing about it here is this here. We don't need to have white people validate the holiday for us. We don't have to have some congressional order. You don't need to give white people the pleasure in honoring you, because somehow you let them off the hook. If they honor you, if you take them and they give you a day to honor your slain members, then somehow you let them off the hook. You see what I'm saying? By giving them the opportunity to be humane. So in somehow kind of way here is, if we do a holiday or something like that, and we get someone who has the talent to put this on, we don't need to have doggone. We don't have to have the recognition of white people. We don't have to have, we don't have to dishonor these brothers and sisters by having some congressional act to have us to honor these particular holidays. But there should be some type of thing whereas basically there should be some days set aside where we just honor them. But you don't want to, you want to honor them in mourning, but then again the African way is that we want to honor them in celebration.
That's right.
You see what I'm saying? But we want to honor them seriously. Well, even if we just mourn for them, a day of reflection, and we just mourn for them, that would be good. You see what I'm saying? But we need to do this type of thing. I'm going to get into a spiritual apparatus on how this thing comes about in a few minutes. But I want to try to get you to give you to understand how you can have these people right here. Here's a black man.
They got him because he voted at the voting poll.
Yeah.
Ain't that something?
Now I want to show you, because I want to get into the nature of why these people could be this way.
And guess what? All the viewers out there, that's after so-called physical slavery.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? When
Right.
black people had their own, you know,
right.
stuff. They build their houses and all that, man.
Exactly. I'm going to get into why you would have these people actually grinning and smiling. Because they hung some black person. You know, look at the, let's see if I can get this right. Look at the smile on this guy's face. You know?
That's right.
You see. This is how you can have this. It's because you got to understand something about the nature of these people. These people have had a history of warfare and execution with their own people. They burned something like 9,000 witches at the stake. And the only thing they declared to be a witch is just being different. And they burned their own white women. England and France had a war for 100 years, which means that warfare is normal and peacetime is abnormal.
Tell them the name of this tape too, Brother Bobby, if they would like to see it.
Tape.
If they would like to see it, they can see it.
Punishment, criminal by death. The devil's punishing devils. The white race is the devil, but it's devils punishing devils.
That's right, the same thing you talking about.
You see. So Brother Sarnetta, you can get this right here in Harlem. You see. But the thing about it here is, you don't understand, if these people can be ruthless against their own people, and warfare in Europe used to be an everyday thing like going down to get a soda pop. So if they are warlike people, or warmonger people, then it is nothing for them to hang somebody who don't look like them. You see what I'm saying? Because what we're talking about here is a sociopathic behavior gone wild. Now, as Brother Sinetta said, anytime you see this covering over them, it means that they have just castrated them. Now, some of these pictures that we've already shown, they would have a person naked. Let's see if we can find one. Another one.
That's one right there.
Yeah,
that one right there with the two on it that you just passed.
Okay, yeah, let's see here. See if we can get this.
Yeah, that one right there with the two.
Yeah.
You see the covering around his waist over here?
Around here. The covering.
See?
You see this covering.
Right.
Or where they hit that. Whenever you see that, that means they just castrated them.
Right. You see the blood dripping from right there too, right? You see where it's dripping at? From right up at the top?
They just castrated them. Now, this one really, you see these people, they got their eyes closed. There's one that I want you to
get the last picture, the last one on the bottom. No, the other one down there. Yeah, the last one. No, all the way at the bottom. Yeah, that one right there. No, turn it around. That one right there you're looking at.
Yeah, this one? Oh,
yeah,
this
the one you're looking at. There you go. Castrated them.
Castration.
Burned alive. That's where they get the term barbecue from.
Yeah.
You see?
Now I want to show you something.
Mm-hmm.
Most of these pictures I have seen throughout history, the people who was lynched was already dead when we saw these pictures.
Mm-hmm.
That's one thing. But I want you to focus your attention right now on one that to show you where you're going to see a person that's alive and then is dead. And that is this picture right. I want you to focus in on this one real good.
See the spiritual in his face? The spirit?
Yeah. Here's a brother that is alive.
His name was Frank.
I go back so they can see his body. Well, that's good.
Okay.
He's standing up and he's getting ready to get executed.
Right. Look at all the whips on him.
Yeah, they've already beat him.
Uh-huh.
They got him cut.
Right.
The next pictures is they're showing him still alive. Here, they're showing his body.
Mm-hmm.
Get that right.
There you go.
Mm-hmm. And then, this is after they kill him. I'm focusing on this one.
There it is.
Go closer. Give me a close-up on it, too. Yeah. This is after they kill him.
But
Now,
look, but when you go down, you notice the towers are wrapped around him now.
that's right. They've already castrated him.
There you go. See, but they ain't got the towel wrapped around them in the front or the back. But now they do.
Now, look. Put this thing beside this. Can we get both shots at the same time? That's poor Frank.
Mm-hmm, that's him.
You see? You see?
Mm-hmm.
Don't tell me about the brutality of some people in a concentration camp way over in Germany.
I'm going to catch you on this one here, Brother Bobby.
Mm-hmm.
Who do you think that man is? Right there. Look on TV. Look at the TV, the one I'm zooming in on. Look at his face. Real good. Who do he look like?
Who is that?
Don't he look like Prescott Bush?
Uh-huh.
Senator Prescott Bush.
So this is Bush.
That's Senator Prescott Bush.
Now, do you understand that this is George Bush, that they have elected twice, the father,
That's right.
and...
No, the grandfather.
No, the father and the son.
Uh-huh.
This is the grandfather.
That's right.
So it shows you what kind of demons you're dealing with. The black people, you see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. And when y'all go into the book, y'all need to read the book. Don't just look at the pictures. You must read, and you'll find all this out.
It shows you what kind of devils you're dealing with.
Mm-hmm.
There's a movie out called Jack and the Beanstalk, The True Story. And in the movie they talk about how Jack's, we hear the devil's story. We hear the story about how Jack went and got this goose, Jack cut down this this beanstalk, right, and killed a giant. But the other part of the story here is the giant, and then Jack's great-great-great-grandfather went up there and stole a goose, went to the heaven realm and stole a goose that laid the golden egg, and the heaven realm went into disarray and chaos. And not like us, used to be on another level on this planet. And his family benefited by the goose that laid the golden egg, and he became rich. So later on, when Matthew Modine, who's playing that distant great-great-great-grandchild of the guy Jack that went and stole the golden egg, went to the heaven realms, they said, look, we judging you. He said, well, I didn't do anything wrong. They said, we're going to execute you anyway. They said, why? They said, because you've benefited based on the luxury of the treachery of what your doggone great-great-great-grandfather did. And by you benefiting from the treachery and the wrongs, you are the beneficiary of the damn execution.
Because he have received stolen goods.
That's right.
You see?
That you have received stolen goods. Right now, if somebody goes downtown and rob from that white man, and that person could even be dead after he robbed and get his brains blown out. And when they come and find the stolen goods, you best believe you will go to jail.
That's right.
You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
The guy that they executed for the Limburg baby, at the early part of the 20th century, in the 1920s, I think. And they executed the guy for the Limburg baby, the guy who actually got the ransom money for the baby, and the baby ended up dying, and got the ransom money for the baby, went back to Germany and died. But the guy that they executed, because he took the money, they executed him. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So, shoot. Prescott Bush's, because he's a part of this thing, his grandson, who is the president now, is also a part of the same tyranny. And what he doing? Like his grandfather. He killing black people.
Goddamn right. Because don't forget, if he could finance Hitler.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? What you think he would do to you?
Well, as what's the name saying? Right now, you're going to pay $9 billion to finance a war that they kill your children in. You see what I'm saying? That they kill your children with. You see what I'm saying? We're going to go through all of these today.
With the men on the side.
Mm-hmm.
2 on 3.
Mm-hmm. You see. And, you know, we say we preaching to the converted, but then again, on the other hand, there might be some soul out there that will see this documentary of this particular election be inspired by
that brother look just like me, man.
Mm-hmm. Too often, ain't that something? Mm-hmm. Too often, when someone, so we're doing this kind of documentary because it needs to be done, because if the TV does it, or they get funding to do these things, most of the time, the black people who do it will become apologists.
That's right. That's right.
For white folks. So they'll do the documentary, but they'll be apologizing, telling you how better it is.
Go back to that picture with the 2 brothers on the tree.
Right here. Mm-hmm.
Not that one. Not that one. Keep going. With the white men pointing up, looking at him. Remember that one?
Hold on.
I want to show you something, just like what you just said. Not that one. Keep going. That one.
Right.
That one. Hold that one up for a minute. Just what you said, to add on what you said, when black people get on the show and start doing these right here, they become apologists. Now,
Buffer.
If you remember, there was a third party. It was 3 men that was supposed to have been hung on that tree right there. Do you remember?
Okay. Yeah,
you know the history?
Yeah.
Go back. When you read the book, you'll find it. He was on Gil Noble's show, I think 4 or 5 months ago. 4 or 5 months ago, when he supposed to be starting a Holocaust Memorial Museum somewhere in Washington, D.C. You heard about that? And he still lives today. The third man that was going to be hung. The reason they didn't hung him because the white lady stood out and screamed and said, "Let him go. That was not him." None of them was him. But they waited until they was getting ready to kill the third member. It was 3 of them that day. And so as they were getting ready to kill him in 1930, the white woman stood up. The white woman stood up and said, "No, that's not the one. He didn't do it to me." And that's when they spared his life. But when Gil Noble interviewed him, he was telling the story, and he was being an apologist for the white people. I couldn't believe it. I got that on video too. I don't know where it's at. It's somewhere on one of my tapes. Where he started saying, you know, well, I don't really blame them and shit like that. I couldn't believe this old man was saying this shit.
And what he has done is he has made a lot of other people vulnerable. Because there ain't no difference between this and Amadou Diallo.
That's right.
And niggas on the jury that was apologists for white people. Some sick, demented person. Now in a jury, you have the option to hold out as long as you want. At least get a hung jury.
What I'm going to do, Brother Bobby, is I'm going to play a bit of that interview when I find the tape and put it here, you know, splice it together, and then go back into the lecture and do that.
And so it's good for people like me and you to come in and do this thing right for the people, because too often when we see these shows, they have the apologists.
Masonic symbol right there too.
There you go. There's your compass. Yeah. You see. It's not by accident that they hang 3 at a time sometimes. That's also a Masonic aspect. 3 in the Kabbalah, 3 stars in Orion's belt, 3 pyramids in Giza, 3 wise versions, 3 foolish versions.
You see the white devil right there?
Men, yeah.
See the white devil right there looking in on it?
So this is not by accident. Now I'm going to show you, we're going to go somewhere with this in a few minutes, but I want to show these particular pictures. 4. You know. See the thing about it, this country will go down in history, and they will never close the books on these. Trying to get some type of justice.
Now this brother right here, William Brooks, they lynched him because he killed a police chief. If you read it down there, he killed a police chief. Police chief. You know, but they don't tell you on the picture that the police chief was raping his mother and raping his baby sister. So he comes in the house and catch the white man, the devil, raping his family. And he killed his ass, just like any of you out there would do. You know what I'm saying? Don't tell me that I'm promoting violence. What would you do if you walk in the house and see the white man between the legs of your 7-year-old daughter trying to rape her? You would kill that bastard, wouldn't you?
And give me a close-up and a snap on it, because apparently they put something white on his face.
Yeah, that's powder. That's powder. A few people tried to tell me that was a white man, but no, look at his nose. Look at his nose.
No, he's a brother.
Yeah.
Look at the hair.
Oh, yeah. There you go.
Give me one of them snapshots.
Yeah, look at the nose. See, and you can see they beat him up.
Right.
That's the eyes and all. See all that? That's a light-skinned white boy.
And that's also, isn't this also the castration?
Oh, yeah. Hell yeah.
Now this here is one of the brutal, the next one is one of the most brutal hangings that you never even see captured. Here it is, they got them stringed up like grapes.
Now check it out.
Or bananas or something.
15 years old, 16 years old, and the father.
Hung up.
Now, Brother Bobby, if you really look, it's not 3, it's 4 of them. See the shoe? See the leg right here? It's one upside down. Do you really see it good? It's one upside down.
We'll bring it back all the way back.
Okay. See, try to move it from the light. Yeah, there you go. Fix it like that. See it now. Now look. Here's one right here. That's upside down. See his shoe?
Yeah.
And he's hanging upside down. So it's 4 of them. 1, 2, 3, and 4.
Right.
You see it now, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that's the shoe right there. And there's one going upside down.
Got them hanging up like figs, grapes, bananas.
Now, to show it even better, Brother Bobby, I'm going to take it. Let's go to the book. Watch this. We're going to see something. We're going to show y'all something tonight. We're going to show you something tonight. Where it's not only 4 of them, it's really 5 of them. Because we're going to get to it. Here you go right here. Is this it? No, this is a different one. Oh, this is not the same one.
But we need to show this
one.
You
see it too? And there's one on the floor, but then if you go to the big page, you'll see it again. And there's one on the floor.
Well, let's
yeah, that's a different one. There you go right there. And you see all the faces. See all of them looking in there to say, hey, we did it. This is what we did. Now, there's one on the floor too. See him?
And go to the bigger picture. Go
now,
back.
Look at the faces. This is what they did as a sport, man. This was like a sport to them, man. See their faces smiling? Look at the little white boys all in there.
Right.
This is what they did as a sport. Now let's go to the beginning of the book. All the way to the beginning. Right there. Yeah, right there. Right there.
Yeah.
That's it right there. Over 500,000. Move that back, yeah. This is over 500,000 white men, women, and children came out to burn one black man. This is where they get picnic from. Look at that. Hold on, where's it? There you go, right there. Take a look at that right there.
Black man, I go all the way back.
Burned him alive, man. Now the picture that we showed you earlier with the white towel wrapped around him, hanging up like this, that's him. That's the one they burned alive, and then they hung him up on the tree after they burned him to drive the fear into the rest of black people.
Yeah. Let's get that picture.
Yeah.
Show them. It's the one we've been showing most of the day. And we're going to show you, we're taking our time with this.
That's right.
We're treating this thing with delicacy. Because although we know that the people put out the book, we know that this is the same brother.
That's him right there. Jesse Washington is his name.
And this is the one that all the people showed up.
Yeah, that's where they was burning them at right there. That's where they get picnic. And don't you know they was passing out tickets? Who's going to get the ear? Who's going to get the toe? Who's going to go home with the testicles?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? This is the mindset of them.
Yeah. Now I'm going to show you why we got to treat this thing. First of all, number one, a book is fine, but then again, on the other hand, these videos are worth and commentary is worth 1,000 books. You see what I'm saying? There has to be some commentary because although this book, and we commend the people who put the book together, it still can be relegated as a freak show or some type of museum piece.
That's right.
Something set off aside, even in a book, somewhere. You see what I'm saying? With no commentary, as of the humanity or as of the viciousness of the people who did this. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. This could be an academia piece, but then again, you need certain commentary on these pieces. Mm-hmm. And let me explain why. Did we show this one? Yeah, we showed that one earlier.
Yeah, we showed that one.
Yeah, this was another person that was castrated.
Mm-hmm. Not yet. As you can see, he's still there. But they gone to.
Yeah, okay, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, see, he's still intact right now.
He's still intact, right.
But they castrated Malcolm.
Yeah.
It still goes all the way up to this day, you know. And some of us believe that they castrated Khalid Muhammad.
They did?
Yeah, that's what a lot of us believe too. They castrated him because when his body came over here to fly over here to New York, the casket was open and his body was all moved around. You see what I'm saying? That's how that whole fight broke out between members from the New Black Panther Party and certain other people that met the body.
And they castrated Malcolm also.
Yes, yeah.
And for all intents and purposes, with the problem that Farrakhan been having with his prostate and all that, they castrated him too. I mean, in so many words.
That's right. Hell yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Because you know it is customary that I want to put this on the tape. It's customary that you have two kind of aspects of prostate cancer. And I want to put this out here for black people, not to fall for the okie-doke that needs to understand what's going on. One form of prostate is you have a swollen prostate gland, and that can be treated. They can shrink that. And then there's one where you have a cancerous prostate gland, and they have to actually cut that out. But whenever they cut you, you can never rise again. You have to have a pump. So it is customary that black people go in with just a minor aspect of a prostate trouble, either swollen prostate gland or the first stages of it. It is customary when you go in the hospital, they cut you regardless. They will shrink the white man's thing, but they will cut you. And this here it is ongoing, another form of lynching. You see what I'm saying? We say the reason why we do this is not only that. Number one, we don't want to become apologists for this, for white folks. But then again, if we don't have some type of commentary, it'll be another 1,000 years before we do things. We are such a savage level as black people until we don't take the effort to do certain things. So, to commemorate and to make right, or to even teach our people. So this is very important when we have videographers like the brother Sarnetta And you see what I'm saying? And the brother Shabazz and people like me that will come here and take the time to come out here and give commentary to this type of thing, because there's a history behind these lynchings other than something that's inside of a book. You must understand that there's a social apparatus and a social, political, and biological phenomenon that happened that has led to these particular people being brutalized. You see what I'm saying?
And Francis Cress Wellington would always tell us that they fear genetic annihilation.
Yes.
You see, that's why they always had to castrate the black man to put it in our minds. Right. If you look at our woman, you know, because they knew that the black man's sperm and semen was so goddamn strong that we could genetically annihilate their ass.
Even down to the gun, which is what's called a great equalizer.
That's right.
Which is nothing but a dick with a penis,
That's right.
with the ball up under it. When you look at the trigger ring, you see what I'm saying? That's why it's in the shape of a penis.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So we have to do these types of things and stuff if we're going to call ourselves being human. If we're going to call ourselves, let's say, well, there's some redemption. We have gone savage in the hills of North America, but there's got to be some virtue of these people where every now and then we have a few people. There's only a few in America that take the time out to be black. Left now. Couple of thousand. Most people, like to say in the movie The Matrix, is getting on with their everyday life.
That's right.
Totally oblivious to what is even going on now. You see what I'm saying? But you don't think that the difference between these pictures, let's put it in the back, and 14 million black people being locked up in prison,
right,
is the same tradition. We say 14 million because that's what Newsweek gave us October of 2000. And then we had some Negroes who became apologists of that. We're saying, well, they're not really saying it's 14 million. No, it's 14 million.
Or more.
Or more.
That's right.
You see what I'm saying? That's locked up in prison. So the lynching is still going on.
Right. Just like the pictures that you will see throughout your life during this, this lecture, believe me, all the people that we don't know about, that we didn't see.
This is a book that is
we
going
lost
on.
over
The people that actually, they got some photographs. Can you imagine the photographs they do have?
Right.
This is just this is only a minute fraction, 0 something compared to the amount of black people that they used to lynch weekly. We're talking about a cold warfare of lynching.
Let me show this. William James. We talking about a cold-hearted people. First, I'm going to show you William James. That's him right there. Look at the brother right there, William James. And they signed the picture, too, to let you know, man. 1907. Now, let's look to the other side of the page and look what they did to his head. Here you go. That's it right there, Brother Bobby. Look at that. That's the head of William James. Look on the stick. See what it say? Look at the TV, brother. The head of William James. They burned his fucking head, man. Chopped it off, put it on top of a stick, and burned it.
Yes.
Look at the nature of these bastards, man, of these demons. Right. And yet I'm not supposed to teach this to my people?
But this
is you fucking crazy?
You know it's a form of mind control when black people somehow has got this idea in their head that they need to get on with their lives and they need to forget these things.
I got a job now, but what are you talking about? I'm working now. I'm paying my bills.
But yet they say they need to forget these things, but yet there's nothing in any other person's society that is a humane people that don't take records of these things.
That's right.
Well, some people say, well, I'm a Christian. Well, in that case, you need to forget that Jesus was crucified. Why are you still teaching that bullshit to the people every damn Saturday? Every Sunday, if you're supposed to forget. It don't matter whether they strung him up on the cross then.
That's right.
You know, I'm just going based on your religion. You know what I'm saying? You know, it don't matter when you look in the Bible and they got all these stories of injustices and inhumane acts. You need to forget these things happen. You see what I'm saying? You need to forget these things happen. Now, what I want to go into at this particular point right now.
Yeah, we're about to take a break. That's 2 hours.
Yeah.
But before the break, I want you to show that right there.
Okay.
Because we're going to go into something else here.
Yeah.
Now, first of all, I want you to look at this page right here. Where your fingers at, Brother Bobby. You can look at the TV.
All right.
Does that date remind you of anything? Look at the date.
What does the date say? I can't see you for me.
Oh, man. September 11th. 1911. Now, when you go to the other side, that's when these brothers was lynched in the barn. It's 3 of them. They was lynched 9/11. Is it something? What's up with that date there? 9/11.
There's so many things.
See, that's the brothers there, and here's the date over here, right on the bottom of the page. See, I can't zoom in on that without not getting good. There you go. You can see it a little bit.
Okay.
Oh,
Get it back. Okay, ready?
Let me back it up. Okay, now, let me go in real easy so they can see the date.
Yeah, there you go.
No, it's not going in like that. Well, anyway, yeah, that's 9/11.
You got it one
See
time.
what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
All right, and with that, we're going to take a break and come back at you real soon.
Yeah, cool.
All right?
All right. The point here is, when you go to psychiatry, in order for them to deal with the problem, the first thing you must do is face the problem. You have to identify what the problem is to find out why you're sick. Well, we are sick people. Nathan and Julia Hare said it in the 70s. Naeem Akbar said it in the 80s. And Francis Cress Wilson. Maulana Karanga. There's several people that's done stuff that talked about the psychological condition. Even W.E.B. Du Bois for talked about it. But one of the main people that understood the condition of our people, Carter G. Woodson, we can't rule him out. That talked about this black psychology. But also the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, 60 years ago, he's talking about how psychologically damaged we are. In the Griot mythology, it was brought up by the Moors up in Spain, and they talk about this history of our particular people. They call it the Fisher King. The Fisher King is an ancient race of people that find themselves in a modern world based on whatever the trials and tribulation they've gone through. They're psychologically messed up, damaged, ruined. This was an ancient mythology that was taken up out of Africa on into the Moorish aspect into Spain. It was interesting here because it was even a movie, The Fisher King, with Robin Williams and Jeff Bridges, that came out in, I think, in 1991. And that movie is dealing with that whole psychological aspect where Robin Williams is a homeless man that also represents, he's playing the black man in this particular case. But in so many words, we're talking about black psychology. Now, we know that this thing leaves scars on us psychologically based on genetic memory bank. I'll give you an incident with me. I might not look it, but I was born in 1961. I'm 41 years old. That's whether either I look older than 41 or I look younger than 41, it doesn't really matter. Or I look my age. I'm 41 years old. I was born in 1961, late 1961. But I can remember the 1950s and the 1940s. Just as vivid. I can remember all these things. I see movies and I'm like, yeah, I remember these things. But my mother at that particular time was a young adult in the 1950s. So therefore, for some reason, it was whether she graduated high school, she was in college, and she did a couple things. In the 1950s was a real time of formation for her, orientation for her, a pivotal part of her coming into early adulthood. And as a result, I remember the 1950s based on genetic memory bank. That meant that some of my mother's genetic memory, especially the 1940s and the 1950s, was somehow passed on to me. You see, passed on to me. Dick Gregory was talking about recently how a person can get shot and a person can die and his grandchildren on down the road can come up. I'm talking about grandchildren, not even his child. That's one aspect. But his grandchildren on down the road can come up with lead poisoning based on the grandfather getting shot because it goes into the DNA. Well, we know that we talk about racial memory going in also into the DNA. You see. So we know this, which sets up the argument in the case based on slavery. Well, one is genetic memory bank. One is a tradition of pathologies and psychologies and neuroses that is passed down from generation to generation based on your rearing and based on a culture that we set up that is conducive to pathology in that particular aspect, because we pass these things on because not only just the culture that we find ourselves into, but the greater culture in the aspect of the people who rule over us make sure that the process is ongoing as far as our insanity. And so in this particular case, we're talking about what I call black insanity, or post-slavery black insanity, or post-servitude black insanity, where we take on a form of racial dysfunction, mental illness is the word, based on something that has happened to us traumatically in our lives, and based on the genetic memory bank is passed on to us, but based on a culture that is put together to harness the pathologies of what they call the grown-up children at large, is what we are. For the mere fact that we have to make a tape in the underground of things that's been done, should have been done 50 years ago, of honoring, trying to bring closure, or trying to even shed light on a part of our history that has been swept under the rug. For the mere fact we're in that level, we know that we are grown-up children at large. That means a child has to be forced to deal with things other than play, other than entertainment, other than love joy, other than, relaxation, he has to be forced. And that's what it is. We have to, it's like we know that we don't study as a people, because this is a form of study. And although we have videos now, we don't even have to even read books. They say some of our people don't read, some of our people won't read, and some of our people can't read. Well, there's no excuse now, because we have books, we have videos, DVDs, audios, and you can go to lectures and people talk. Well, what is it that we can't get on this vanguard of learning information that is conducive to us, that is good for us, leadership that is good for us in a particular aspect of you being your own leader of information? It's just like, because it's always a perpetual child. You have to force a child to go do the homework. A child, that's what it does, based on its not having the ability to be grown yet, not having the certain responsibilities that's reared into a person to take responsibility. It will shirk its responsibility at all times and go for the easier path because it's a child. And there's certain psychological principles that set in that make you do what is needed to be done. You see what I'm saying? Well, that's about like we are. We talk about how some people say, well, we would love it, if we could live in a world where, you can marry who you want to marry and deal with who you want to deal with and all this kind of thing here, and you don't have to have looks and different things like that. I said, but no, let's just look at this thing, people shunning you, or people having disagreement because you married someone interracially. Well, I said, well, let's look at it this way. What about responsibility? Now, we know about responsibility Because we look at the white man. Let's just take Hollywood. We've counted almost 90-something people over the from the 1960s on up that's married interracially. So we counted that much. We talking about 50% of the white Hollywood blacks in Hollywood over the course of the last 30 years or 40 years is married outside their race. Yet we can count the amount of major movie stars in the history of Hollywood white that married outside their race on one hand. So does this mean that is racism the reason why the white man don't marry out his race? Because obviously his woman is getting married to us. Or it's a matter of being an adult and having accountability to know that there's a certain obligation you're going to have to a certain group of people that you find yourself belonging to. So you know that basically in order to further the healthy image of yourself and the worldview of yourself into the future, you have to marry your species hair. You have to marry someone that looks like you. For the simple fact, this is saying something to your kids on how you feel about their mother.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying?
That's right.
So here it is, we got people with no accountability. They can say, well, you know, I just fell in love and I felt, no, you choose who you fall in love with. You hang around a dog long enough, you fall in love with it.
That's right.
You see what I'm saying? And it's so much about how much people really fall in love when there's a divorce going on every 5 minutes. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But the point I'm trying to make here is, why is it always us that have to say, well, I couldn't help it, I just fell in love with it? It's a lie. And my point here is, you're talking about a grown-up child at large. That number one, psychologically, he's in a culture where the white European paradigm of what is beautiful is the white woman.
That's right.
So he's going out solely based on how he feels, based on what he's turned on to psychologically. His responsibility is destroyed, or that gets thrown in the trash can for the simple fact that he's not once considering that if my children see me who they love, or my children see a lot of the people that's affluent in the neighborhood or affluent in the media marrying white people or marrying outside their race, and there's got to be something wrong with my black woman. You see what I'm saying? You say, nah, you being kind of harsh about this. Well, why the white man don't do it? The white man per capita marries his woman in mass. In that way, he's better than us. But he's not oppressed. So by him not being oppressed, he is not reduced down to a childhood state of shirking his responsibility. So therefore, he has a responsibility to his offspring and to his woman. That the majority of them are going to marry his woman to ensure the psychological security of their children when they look and say, what is it with the black woman that the black man don't want her? When we marry in mass. And now as we see that the white man has a campaign to push the black woman out there and say, now it's okay for you to marry a redneck. And they make a whole movie on it, Monsters Ball, to promote this.
That's right. But see, all of this has been designed.
Yes.
For the black man to want to marry outside of his race.
Yes.
You see what I'm saying? And most of that is because of the black man. Mm-hmm. How the way our sisters are today, the conditioning of our women. We have made them to believe that the standard of beauty, you got to have that long stringy hair.
Right, exactly.
You got to put on the lipstick.
The white woman
now,
is
if
the
we
paradigm.
didn't accept that shit, believe me, she wouldn't do that shit.
Yes, the white woman is the paradigm. Is the paradigm.
So all that falls back on us too. We got to take a heavy.
But then again, on the other hand, the only reason why she's doing it is because she know we wants it.
That's right. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm talking about.
She knows that most black people want it. They know that she knows also that she put the perm in her hair. She does these types of things because she knows that we want the bouncing and behaving of the white man. And she's only monitoring. Her behavior is modified based on how we feel. But the key here is that we're still talking about the psychology of a people.
Right.
Now, on the other hand, let's look at her psychology. Instead of looking for a person that and somehow will look out for her best interest, which is the first thing, a person, whether that person, how does that person feel about you? She will opt on how a person feels about them for security. So she will go after the person who has a certain position in life, power, money, or whatever. But that might not necessarily be the best thing to do.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So we talk about different aspects of things, and she's only following the Victorian white woman, where the purse strings were the most important thing in Victorian society. Get the movie Sense and Sensibility. Get the movie The Age of Innocence. I tell people when they started coming out with these movies in the 1990s, especially Miramax Pictures, they were trying to show the pathology of what white America and white Europe and where did all this stuff come from. So they can have a bunch of movies out, Sense and Sensibility, Emma, The Age of Innocence, and these movies came out. And I was saying it was important for black people to go see these movies to find out the origin of the white person's pathology, to find out whether are you copying these traits when we decided we were going to try to pick a model after slavery. Where did this shit come from? And what is the origin of these things and all? So a lot of times, things that we have is what our standards and what we look for is given to us by another people.
That's right.
As it says in the Hermetic material coming out of ancient Egypt, your mind, you would look like an Egyptian or an African, but your mind would be of another race. This is prophesied. So right there, even in our own sacred text, they're talking about our psychology will be damaged. Our psychology will be affected. Now, in this particular case, the key goes back to when they say, let us make a slave. How do you make a slave? Well, the key of that is let us make a permanent child. You see what I'm saying? So even when we choose to be conscious or we choose to be black, it's a matter of choice based on whether we are dealing with responsibility. And children want to avoid aspects of responsibility. They don't want to wash the dishes. They don't want to sweep the floor. They want to take the easy way out. And that's so many words of what we are. We're permanent children. Pathological grown-up children at large. And it has nothing to do with whether you're in the underclass or whether you got an education. It doesn't matter.
Well, those who finish college and they have this wild idea that they are free, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
They can do what they want, but how come we don't own nothing? How come it's hard for us to buy stuff, man?
Well, number one, you got to understand one thing about it. The standard of being free in America is a white man's standard of approval. And because the white man has approved some black people to be honorary white folks, they don't feel the responsibility to be black. Why should I have the responsibility to go in and be black with them Negroes over there suffering when I already got approval as an honorary white person?
That's right. Like Oprah Winfrey, Michael Jordan.
So they already know, right, that psychologically, if they can give a certain amount of people honorary white status, those people will then turn around and even go to fight to preserve that white standard, that white approval that is given to them. So they don't feel that they should be. We're still talking about children. They don't feel that they should look and do things outside of their own personal experiences of survival for other black people, because they have the approval of the master and the ruling culture. So the white man understood that, number one, when we were let out of slavery between 1865 and 1964 and 1965 was the time that we were truly free. Why? Because he made the mistake in putting us in a system of apartheid called segregation. And as a result, we flourished because of it. You see. And he had to destroy this, so what he had to do, he had to bring us back into the plantation. Knowing that in 1864 or 1863, when they had a discussion in Virginia or whether these doggone slaves will turn against us, and they said, no, you don't have to worry about that because we'll close all avenues in their mind in which light can travel. You see, we're not sure, but there will be nothing but the beast of the field if we are successful in what we have done to shape their minds to be the savages that we want them to be. But what happened is because they sequestered us or put us in a form of apartheid segregation, it didn't happen. We came out of those particular civilizations of bondage, and we flourished. And they turned around and looked and found out that the only heartbeat in America of creativity that makes America unique from Europe, because was black people in America. They said without black people in America, the United States would have been a third-rate Europe. But because of the black people here, it made a whole civilization that's unique by them stealing from us and by them borrowing the culture of the doggone creativity that they found into it. In this particular case, the creativity of the original people. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So, what was meant for us to go psychologically crazy, to go savage, was delayed for almost 100 years after the Civil War. And they said, no, we must take full charge of putting them back on the doggone plantations. Putting them back on the plantations. Because somehow segregation or apartheid, they have basically got outside of us ruling over them psychologically. And the best way to keep you in a hole is to get back in that hole with you. They did a survey and they understood based on segregation that we were producing black graduates out of high school and college on a greater level or the same level as white people with less facilities as far as poor facilities, materials, books and things like that. But what they gave us, they say separate but equal, but you know damn well we was getting hand-me-downs. Mm-hmm. And what they gave us in the condition, by us being in our own communities, we produced black greatness. So therefore they had to put us back on the plantation. That's called a corporate world. That's opening us up to be closer to white people.
Mm-hmm. All right, I heard you say on, not an old tape, but let me see, what's the name of that tape? The Rise of the Egyptian Serpent. Mm-hmm. You did that this year.
Yeah.
You remember that, right?
Yeah.
I think that's an 8-hour tape. Mm-hmm. And you said, damn the goddamn children. The children ain't the future. You the goddamn future.
Right.
Because without you implanting and shaping and molding that mind for them to elevate and grow, to pass on to their seeds, they ain't got no goddamn future. Exactly. Now, I understand that.
Right.
But some of the people out there will come to me because I remember giving them that tape.
Yeah.
And they said, well, how are you going to say, damn the children and the children? I tried to break it down to them to make them understand that. Speak on that issue for me, brother.
First of all, America has it backwards. Mm-hmm. I'm sure what I'm talking about. We know, now even with mass murderers, when they talk to most mass murderers, those mass murderers mainly become mass murderers based on something between the relation, because most of them are male, and most of them have something to do with the relationship with the mother and that male. Other people that we have in the society have all kinds of psychological conditions because of the relationship with the parents, and something that was unstable with the rearing and the parents. You see what I'm saying? With the parents. Give you an example, because we can deal with case study, empirical evidence of how things can be done. I'm from a small town in called Mullins, South Carolina. Population 6,000. And I grew up in a time where most of the people basically, you know, they did pretty well after graduating high school, because it was right before the crack era and right before this new hot warfare that came down. But I was on the periphery of the cold warfare, and in between the segregation or whatever type thing, although I started out in a segregated school. The people asked my mother, well, what is it why you could have 3 sons and all of them turn out doing fairly well? Might not be a whole lot of money or whatever, but they're not in jail, they're not on drugs and whatever kind of thing. She said, well, first of all, the first thing is that I never gave them anything for them to be ashamed of me about. And that's the same thing what they say about some of the mass murderers. Something happened and it was ashamed of the mother based on prostitution or whatever type things like this, or the father or whatever. So my point here is this. We know if there's healthy adults, then 98% of the time the child is going to be healthy psychologically. The adults are not psychologically damaged because the children were fucked up. The children are fucked up because of the parents being messed up.
That's right.
And in Western civilization, here goes again, how it's backwards in Western civilization. Now, you go to the temple walls in Egypt, or you go to all of the ancient world, you mostly don't see children. You usually see adults on those temple walls as the standard bearers or the archetypes. Even when it comes to the gods, you have the baby Horus in Egypt, or the baby Jesus, or whatever, or the baby the Dionysius is Cupid or Eros, but you don't see a lot of children as the representatives of the gods. Now, those particular gods that you see in the ancient world, or the Nettas, or what you call them, are components in what you're supposed to fashion your life behind as archetypes to apply to your everyday life. You see what I'm saying? There are examples and motifs to go by for you to fashion yourselves to have a complete life down here on a spiritual level. They don't show a lot of children because children are not the standard. The adults are the standard in which the children follow. Right. Now, in this society, we raise up the children, but we don't give a shit about an adult. God help a motherfucker when he turns 18. Well, he can be a little boy running around here. But see, you got to understand Western civilization. White people and the white man is not two things. He's not challenged, or he doesn't feel inferior, or he's not threatened by the child or the old black man. He's not threatened by the little black boy as he is the teenager, or the young adult black man, or the adult black man. So it's two things. They love little children because that seems like inhuman a little bit. You know, a child is a possession or something that it's like a chandelier. It's like that movie camera. It's like a VCR. It's not quite all the way developed enough that you can feel threatened by it as a complete adult. So we love the little children in Western civilizations. If you ever want to get a person to get teary-eyed, you want a cause to happen, all you got to do is kill a child. But God help you if you're an adult and you have psychological problems. They say you on your own. But now, if you can somehow make it to get 70, 80, they like old people. Why? Because an old man in his 70s is not a challenge. They don't feel threatened by an old man in their 70s. You understand what I'm saying? So they will focus on the child, but if the child does not have an image or an archetype that is healthy, that child is going to end up, I don't give a damn how much you give him, whatever the outside community will say, when we say to the children, if he doesn't have a personal relationship with a healthy adult in his family, then he's going to end up the same fucking juvenile that they're going to end up hating a few years later. You see what I'm saying? So it's backwards. The first thing we want to do is get a motherfucker attention is talk about the children. But that's not a, you see what I'm saying? Well, what about caring for a person who is undeveloped? As an 18-year-old and 20-year-old, we just cast him into prison.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying? If we focused on the people that we throw away, we don't throw children away. We throw away the adults. Our case in point, they're not locking up little children, 4 and 5. They're locking up black men 18, 19, 20. They're killing black men 18, 19, and 20. And the reason why it's such a disparity is because nobody is saying we got to somehow be tolerant of black people or the black man or a man for the matter of fact or any type of thing. I say that because I include other brown-skinned people that can get trapped up because they don't like them either.
Right.
That somehow when the judge is getting ready to judge, or your own woman is getting ready to judge you, they can go say, well, goddamn, we live in a society where you can't even develop like you want to because of peer pressure and because of just not having the kind of knowledge of manhood that we did in the indigenous world. So all this has to be factored in. But if you say, no, we're going to deal with the child, well, that child is in a stage of development, but if he doesn't have the person at his house or above him or somebody's directly related to him where he see a healthy adult.
And you're afraid to teach him the truth.
Yes.
And you putting all that Santa Claus shit in his fucking
not only
head.
that,
Easter shit in his head.
Even to the point that the adults don't even know the truth.
That's true.
You figure it happened.
Right.
We get half these asshole parents out here to just recognize that even though this is uncomfortable to me, but I need to learn this shit for the simple fact I need to teach him. That person can be a better person.
That's right.
You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
That person can be a better person. How many people you see grown right now and stuff is saying, you know, well, my family members, I got a family member, and my mama don't want to deal with this. And my father don't want to deal with this. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And you don't give a fuck about what a little child want to deal with. He's a child. So there's a certain protocol that's backwards in this society. My point here is if you had 10 healthy adults, you'll have 50 healthy children. So the shit is backwards. We lock up adults. Hell, we throw away our grandparents.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying?
So when you see the white boy or the white woman telling you that the youth, the children are your future, psychologically they know that the future for our children is jail or dead.
Your children can be your death.
That's what I'm saying.
You know what I'm saying? Now take for instance,
That's right.
And even your boy, the white boy George Carlin said, well, the Republican Party, oh, they love the unborn. They even love the unborn. He said, but you fuck when you get on the planet. They will lobby to say the unborn, and they'll go out there and barricade the abortion clinics.
That's right.
But if you're 18, you own your fucking own.
That's
Then
right.
they trying to take you out of society by locking your ass up.
Mm-hmm.
You understand what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Well, why are you going to bring a motherfucker here in the first place? You're going to lock them up at 18. That's a travesty and a tragedy. You see what I'm saying? So this is the way this thing is going down. So now, so that's one reason why we say we're still talking about the psychological ramifications of black people.
Right.
Now, going back, they knew it was a great concern to them because they was thinking that we had the same psychology as them. Well, all the shit we done to these people in slavery, who's to say that these people not going to turn around and do this to us? But we were much more humane than them. We never really, after slavery, had a serious rule. We had some resistance, we had some riots, we had some things where we wasn't taking some stuff, but it's always in resistance. But just for the simple fact, we never stood up and said, no, we're going to pay you back for what you did in slavery.
That's right.
You see what I'm saying? We never did this. We're the ones that forgive and forget. And that's our fucking problem. But this is one thing, though.
Right.
They were concerned during the slavery.
And want to love everybody.
Right.
You see?
But ourselves.
That's right.
But they were concerned in slavery, well, we might be like them, but we weren't. They didn't understand our nature, but this is the point. They wanted us to go crazy. It didn't happen. The realization of us going savage after what they put on us and that basically raping our minds in slavery and turning us inside out where we don't even like our features, we don't like our hair, we don't like nothing. Where the brain is in opposition to the body. Your mind is in opposition to the body. And they understood this, but what they did was we was forced to deal with it because they put us in apartheid, segregation, and sequestered us to certain areas. So we was forced to deal with it, and as a result, we built a culture that became the model of America. Everything that in America is got a style to it because of the black people in it. Now, because we didn't go crazy in 1865, or the 1900s, or the 1920s, or 1930s, by 1965, 100 years later, when they put us back on the plantations and separated one class of people from the other class of people, the dream and the reality is now we are sick, and more sick than we were 30 years ago.
That's right.
Because what we did was, 30 years prior, the 1940s, 1950s, 1960s, the early, especially in the 50s and the 60s, when we became a people of our own way of looking at this, here's this black culture that was even quiet. In the 60s, we like Richard Pryor said, well, we're going to pitch a bitch in the 60s. What y'all waiting for in the 50s? We waiting for the 60s. Mm-hmm. We were the masters of common sense. We did things whereas we was able to put together a culture that worked for us. We didn't have certain things we had certain pathologies coming out of slavery, but we had certain things that we had a cohesiveness with us. Because we also had the government bearing down on us with drugs and all. We always had a form of resistance. But we had some type of cohesiveness with us as a community of black people all over the country. We were more together then in segregation than we are now. We had a cohesiveness because we had to, because we were forced to deal with each other. Now we got 30 years past.
And at that time, the youth was the future. Back then when you talking about. Because when you look at it, the movement of, dealing with the 60s, the 30s, the 40s, the 50s, we had a stronger unity.
Yeah.
Remember, you would walk down the street and an old lady will beat your ass and send you home, and you go home crying, tell your mother,
ass with
there you go. Now, don't put your motherfucking hands on my child.
Right.
You got the parents out there fighting and shit.
There was no
the child to come out there and call you all type of bitches and hoes, and the parents is all right with that. Don't put your hand on my child.
I used to get a beating for having a you-own
This is what the white man has done to us, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead, what you were saying?
I used to get an ass whipping for having an F, or they would put a U, unsatisfactory, on conduct. I used to get a beating at home. I got that U on conduct. I know I'm going to get my ass whipped when I get home. Now, I seen this shit. I got a friend that teaches school. And the goddamn children act like fucking fools. And they call the parents out there. The parents come out there and want to beat the damn teacher ass. For some crazy shit. We used to get double ass whipping out in the community. But we had a cohesiveness that somehow held us together. And all that stuff started falling apart in the late 80s, early 90s. The mid to late 80s, early 90s, because the cohesiveness had started wearing off because of the simple fact we were separated and desegregated.
And what went on with that, the process of that was the welfare shit was designed to take the black man out of the home anyway. You see what I'm saying? And then they came up with another law. You hit your child, this is what we're going to do. So we started getting fear of all this.
You can't beat a motherfucker.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
And now look at the condition of our children today, man.
Now we got parents that's actually scared of the children.
Oh, man, that's right.
You see what I'm saying?
That's right.
And so now, so what was meant for us after slavery, they was hoping we would go crazy like the beast of the field, is a reality now because they knew. They said, look, they told the people in the Ku Klux Klan, they say, hey, look, we doing this shit over, and people around the world are looking, and they seeing us as savages. So what we got to do, let us be wise and conspire against them. They say, you don't understand. We got certain things in this society psychologically, if we just let off of them and give them the runabout in society by them being children, they're going to already shirk their responsibility as race, which they were forced to do in segregation. And what's going to happen here is these motherfuckers going to go crazy within 30 years. And as a result, now, we got whole communities, and we talking about children. Well, look at this. We got whole communities of children now that's now grown that don't give a shit about nothing. And I'm talking about so-called middle class people that, and I'm not saying that because I'm from the outside looking in. I grew up middle class. I was one of the fortunate ones. But I got peers that went to school with me with kids, children that's almost 10 years right behind me now. The whole concept of responsibility and charity towards others. They don't, it's like do for self. And I'm not do for self as far as a people. Me, myself, and I. Selfishness. And shit like that. No. These motherfuckers don't give a damn about nothing but getting theirs.
That's right.
You see? So we got a whole thing based on this psychology of black insanity, black self-hatred. Black self-hatred, as well as, don't let me negate them, the trauma of a Holocaust. Now we got Jews right now, people are being tolerant. There isn't really the white European Jew that was converted into Judaism. I always make that distinction. We got the Jews right now, the people are tolerant because because they were forced to recognize their Holocaust from 1940 or 1939 on up. They're forced to recognize their Holocaust of 6 years. And we're tolerant of them. They're not psychologically damaged like us, no matter how much they try to front. These motherfuckers rule the world well.
Hell yeah.
Whereas we can't even function psychologically. We can't even appear at a meeting on time.
I don't care how many Jews will fight against each other. If they smell anything that's anti-Semitic, they all come together in bunches and fight as a unit.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, exactly.
Where is that at with us? Because of the psychological programming, like you said.
Exactly.
We don't have that. We lost that.
Exactly. We are in retreat from each other.
Right.
From our women, from our men, from this community. Hell, what are we talking about? So they don't even go through that. We got, in Atlanta, they got 5 black colleges right there in the black community. And they have graduation class of so many people graduating every spring. Do you know that those graduates, the ones that stay in Atlanta and the ones who go to other places, they never live in the black community? So here it is, you got a people that's got a 100% education rate in the black community with these black colleges and a 2% residency. They go and live out amongst their own, amongst other people. And then they go to the black community. They can't understand why as everything is run down. Well, hell, this is based on taxes in this particular country. Hell, if you got a certain bracket of black people who got money living in a certain area, it's going to be better. But all those people now give their money to the white man. They're living all out in Buckhead and different things, different places and stuff amongst white people. And this is going on all over the country. Here it goes again. The children, lack of responsibility. You see what I'm saying? So psychologically, here it goes again. We suffer the effects not only because the culture maintains our suffering, but also too, we suffer the effects of the hideous things that have happened to us. Whereas we've had even people go, Bobby, I don't even want to get into that stuff because I'm scared.
Or some people tell me, well, I can't look at that. That make me so. Make me mad.
Make
I
me
say,
mad.
well,
Or make
you're
me
not
upset.
supposed to be happy. You're supposed to get mad.
You gotta understand something about children. Parents don't like children to see certain things because it makes them upset.
But it's supposed
and
to, man.
It's only
That's
when
my point.
it's only when the children are forced with something that it numbs that aspect of that and they can deal with it. It makes them better when they go through certain amount of aspects of things. Like take for instance, now we do know in psychology that most people in psychology, in some form of psychology, most patients shut down based on pressure. They can't deal with certain things that's facing them. And it is up to the psychologist or the psychiatrist to get them to face it, neutralize it, and go through it. But because they are mentally ill, they shut down with a certain syndrome that they could go into this hiding place, an alternative reality that children go into when they don't want to face certain things. So they make it go away. I'm going to make it go away because I can't deal with it. Well, it's the same thing now with black people when it comes to dealing with their own Holocaust. They're dealing with the same psychological things of mentally ill people. Right. Well, a mentally ill person they can't take pressure.
Because they're still a child. They haven't grown up.
Because they're still a child. They haven't grown up. They can't take pressure. So what they will do here is they will block it out. You know, when people that got raped or certain people that got molested, they don't even remember the incident because it was so traumatic until they had to block it out. You see, to go on with their life, to cope. Well, it's the same thing with our people, with the psychological aspect based on because why are you blocking us out? Some people weren't even alive when these things was going on, or slavery, but they block it out anyway. They say, I don't want to hear it. So I've proven.
That's right.
I've just proven that this is some type of genetic memory bank. Here it is, that slavery went on 1865, over 130 something years ago. But yet, black people block out slavery. So I can't deal with that. Well, wait a minute, hold on. You just proved my theory, or is it a theory of my science, when I said it's a genetic memory bank. You wasn't even back then. That means there's two things that happen. The culture is produced for you not to recognize that or deal with it, or it means that you have a genetic memory bank where there's something that's traumatic happened to you in the past, and although you weren't living, it happened to your mother, it happened to your grandparents, your great-grandparents, and you can't deal with it now. So you have to block it out and go into your alternative world. In this case, the white man gives you a civilization and say, hey, that's what all Western culture is. Deal with the fantasy of Western civilization. You can move where you want to move and be what you don't want to be and hide what you want to be or hide from what you dislike. You see what I'm saying? And you can just basically sweep everything under the rug. So that's what happens psychologically. You have to get people to face that. And when black people rebel against their own tragedies, instead of dealing with it, you see what I'm saying? They are doing just that. They are shirking responsibility and not facing certain things to cope. And these supposed to be the people that's supposed to lead the future?
Hell no.
You see what I'm saying? But it's even sadder than that. They will identify with another race's tragedy.
That's right.
For some form of inspiration. They'll fly American flag in the American Revolutionary War or the Holocaust or celebrate holidays and be adamant and be emotional about things that didn't even concern them. You see? And can celebrate a 2,000-year-old man's crucifixion, but can't even celebrate the crucifixion of their own people in their own lifetime. You see what I'm saying?
And the people that they celebrate don't even look like them.
Right. So we're talking about that type of psychological aspects that is going on. Now, Let's deal. Well, look at this. We need to even find out, because that's why I say it's important for us to tell the white man, you want to do me a favor? Just like Francis Cress Welsing said, tell me what you talk about when I ain't around. But you want to do me a favor. You want to say we all equal. You want to say that I'm your friend and everything. You know, you need to tell me about the history that you had, like the history of. This is a great mystery in slavery. In slavery, we will never know how many black boys was raped and sodomized in history. Now in metaphysics, there's a whole concept of reincarnation. So the genetic memory bank, goddamn it, you was back there to experience some of that shit. In the spirit realm, when I was going to get ready to go into the spiritual aspect of the martyrdom, in the spirit realm, one of the sisters told me in 1994, one of the psychics, she said, you were one of the slaves that, you didn't stay in slavery long. She said, because you ran and they shot you in the back. That's why you don't like, your back to be open. And I said, well, shit, I didn't even know nothing about this. But she was reading a psychological aspect that has affected me now, and she's giving me the reason why about some incarnation ago.
I say that about myself. Not shot in the back, but I always say I'm one of the runaway slaves that was on the plantation.
Yeah.
I'm talking about back then, man.
Right. So
reincarnation.
The reincarnation. We are the same people. And that devil, that cracker that you might be married to.
It's the same.
It's the same cracker that killed your grandmama.
God
you understand
right.
Reincarnation.
That's right. Yeah.
Which is real. They got whole notes. Some people I believe in about. I don't believe in that shit. Well, you don't understand. Your Bible was taken from the damn Gnostic text. They got whole Gnostic text, which is the esoteric form of the Bible that comes out of Kemet. Then the whole section on reincarnation was taken out during the Conference of Nicaea.
That's right.
But here it is. What about reincarnation of a person that was raped? Then you don't understand that. How is it that we could have homosexuality that was in the ancient black world was almost 99% heterosexual? And you don't understand why you have an affinity or you have a love for a dick up your ass now is because some motherfucker fucked you in your ass in your previous incarnation.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't know the reason why. But they haven't even dealt with that. They haven't even dealt with that. As far as the people that was raped, the little girls that was raped even in slavery. You see, they make an indication to it in the movie Goodbye Uncle Tom, where they show they selling these slaves and they got a little black girl and black boy based on pedophiles that they sold to pedophiles. They had a whole industry of slavery. Did you see that movie Goodbye Uncle Tom?
Farewell, Uncle Tom.
Farewell, Uncle Tom.
Yeah, would you like a cup of coffee? Oh, you're right.
No, that's cool.
Well, how many sugars you want?
I drank it black.
All right, straight black.
Yeah.
All right.
In Farewell, Uncle Tom, where you have a whole industry, a whole industry of slaves that is sold to slave masters, just little children, for sex. Whole cultures. They made the indication of this on Farewell Uncle Tom. They had whole, just like you go and buy puppies, or you can buy grown dogs. They had whole cultures where they sold children just for sex.
That's right.
Little boys to little white men, little girls.
They show you how they literally break down the black man and woman, man.
Yes.
And if you really look at that movie and study it, you can see that most of that stuff was real. I call it a movie documentary because they can't get little babies to play that role. Remember when they was taking the little babies from the mother and she was screaming, crying to get back?
Well, you know, the good part about it, the movie, was they admitted that these events were taken from mostly the pamphlets of a guy named Thomas Hewitt and other historians. So the movie was historically adequate and accurate. Even to the point whereas this movie was seen all over the world except America. Now, it was made in Haiti in 1973. They even congratulated Papa Doc Dubai for having him to come down to Haiti and do this thing in 1973 or 72. It was made in Haiti. It was spaghetti, like the spaghetti westerns. It was a spaghetti slave movie of Italians who produced it. But the movie was seen all over the world except America. We just got this thing in the damn late 90s or early 80s, early 2000s, like the late 90s, where we found this movie that was done on slavery. So it's one of the greatest movies ever done on slavery. But the key here is this. Here it is, a movie that's seen all over the world. They got it in every language. And white people don't even let us know about it. Fuck white folks.
That's right.
This is a movie that they studied damn near 30 years, going on 30 years, and they never let nobody know. Farewell, Uncle Tom. And it's a movie that is unbelievable on slavery. That makes Roots look like goddamn Mickey Mouse shit. And they give us that bullshit.
They better get it. And I got it. Clear copy, too. And I got it on DVD. Because my man went over it. Because, you know, it's an old one.
Yeah.
So he went over it with the computer to clear it up, lighten it up. Bad, man.
Yeah. See, ain't that something?
Yeah.
So here it is. We got the movie here. And people, I'm saying, these people look us in the face and they saw this movie.
That's right.
All over the world. And believe me, in my last 15 years of study, I have met white people that know some of everything that we don't think they know. And grin in our face every damn day. So fuck them. You want to tell me some shit, motherfucker, you need to damn be truthful. You say, I'm your friend and all this. Well, if you know some shit, you need to tell me what you know. Not necessarily that I'm looking for you to tell me, because I already know my history. Right. But I want you to see if you're going to validate yourself. But they never do.
They never do.
They never do. You see what I'm saying? They never do. So they shirking their fucking responsibility. You see what I'm saying?
Let me move that back some?
No, I'm good to go now.
Okay.
This is what I want to deal with right now. So when we send our children to wars in Iraq and stuff like that, it is a form of the same ongoing slavery, that you got the same man that's an imperialist this, then a merciless slave taskmaster, a universal thug, a bandit, a killer, and you up here fighting damn wars and stuff, all because you don't know. You see what I'm saying? Because he sequestered your history and put it on lockdown. So I don't buy that bullshit. Now, and still, they're putting genocide on the planet.
And most of our people don't even want to know, man.
They don't want to know.
Because they know that it's going to affect them and it's going to have to make them change and make them do something.
Just a sick thing, though, but they will put a gun on and go into another person's country.
That's right.
And die for this cracker. You see what I'm saying? And die for this white man.
Yeah.
See what I'm coming from? Now, I want to get this one last thing with one of the question and answer. I want to get this one last thing here that I want to put on the tape to try to understand that all is not lost on what happens. It's about like the concept on what the Muslims say about, you know, the little 20, 30 virgins or whatever, and they got to die for all our lessons. Shit for them. But what we're talking about here is a spiritual apparatus or a spiritual connection on what happens. This is one that's got sugar. Yours got sugar? Okay, good. This is mine.
Yeah, mine's got the milk.
Okay, good. This is one thing that that happens with these people that die, so that you will understand something. These people that we see behind us, and you might want to show the wall or whatever, that we see behind us, the brothers and sisters that have made the transition, and there's one that we didn't get on the shot I want to show, the one with the hat on, up there.
Oh, yeah.
The only one we didn't get. The brother with the hat.
Yeah, look at them.
Yeah.
And if you look at his face, you'll see his eyes are swollen.
Yeah.
See that? Close up.
These people that we see before us, when they die, or when they take the ultimate sacrifice, either for us to see in documenting these things, which the white man has hid from us for years. We only got 1 or 2 or 3 of these pictures over the years until this book came out. These people that die, that we see here, and make that transition, so that one day we can see this thing and learn about the nature of what can be done to humans by other so-called immigrant humans, or hybrid humans. When they die, they become a level of lofty positions in the underworld. And a lot of them don't have to come back and reincarnate because they have made the ultimate sacrifice. And so this is the concept of the Jesus concept. They have sacrificed the ultimate sacrifice so somehow they can wake us up. And as a result, these people are sitting pretty in the spirit realm, in lofty positions. And these people are worthy of you actually pouring libations and making altars for them to get a certain amount of power, because they have made the ultimate sacrifice. So they have made a doorway for you. And because they have been in the spirit world and not having to deal with this stuff again, it's a lot of power to connect with. Now let me give you an example. They had the Emmett Till special, and I want to give a congratulations to this brother. I don't know if he'll ever see the tape or whatever, but there's a brother.
I got it.
That did that.
No, I got the Hemmitt Till.
Yeah, I know that one, but I'm talking about the brother. There was a brother that was inspired about the Emmett Till story. He's the brother that I think somewhere in the 80s and the 90s, he worked for years. I don't even think the brother's either in his early 30s now, or late 20s, but I think he's in his early 30s. And he worked for years to bring this story to the documentary level. He had to go in and do research, and he said in so many words, the Emmett Till story, or the image and the spirit, possessed him and haunted him for years until he did the work.
I saw that. That was an interview. Right, I saw that. That's right. That same interview, he also said it was a couple of black people, if you remember, that was holding them down. Did you remember that?
Yeah, right.
See, yeah, he also said it was a couple of black people holding them down too.
Always some people.
I don't know.
But he worked diligently, and he was inspired, and his spirit brought the Emmett Till story to fruition, to the point where, as the story finally aired on Black History Month this year, 2003, and I think literally a week or two after the story aired, the mother of Hemmitt Till died.
That's right.
So that let you know how the spirit did things. She was able to see a documentary of her child, put in perspective that if it wasn't for her showing that casket open, we might have a different story in the civil rights movement.
That's right.
Because it shook up black people. And it was this brother, that's why I dedicate this to this brother. I can't think of his name. I have it on the tape. And to this particular brother who brought this documentary, because also it is the reason why we're doing this documentary today, is I've been inspired about this Holocaust we're dealing with at this particular level. I got over 200 tapes out, but I never really dealt with this on this level. And also it was you, Brother Sinetta, that actually put forth the opportunity for me to do this and all. You were the one that said we need to do this. But it just so happened it's not by mistake that you
on
said,
his hands he got the shackles
this
and
is
his
slave.
feet. Yeah, and his feet. He got the shackles and he got the net over him. See what I'm saying? So that's not a slave, that's a black man who they captured, ready to turn into.
Slave,
You know,
right, exactly, yeah.
Or make him into one.
Make him into
try to
one.
make him out of one.
Exactly.
Yeah, man.
And you were the one to say, let's do this. And it's interesting how the spirit worked, because I'm getting ready to go into the story of what happened with me on this. And this is the culmination of that you provided the opportunity. You actually the one that say, let's do this. You were the catalyst. You the catalyst. And the same weekend I think it was the same, let's put it this way. The day that we did the last video, that you say that we're going to do this one on our brothers and sisters that made the transition in the Holocaust, of lynching. The day that you said we need to do this, and I said, hey, it was in my mind that we need to do this.
Right.
The day that you do it was the day that I actually saw the TV show of the brother on Gil Nobles who did the Emmett Till story and was inspired by that, which leads me to my story on the spiritual plane to explain that these brothers are in the lofty heights. How do I know this? Well, all this is all in the whole context, because we had just completed Black History Month on the 8th when I came. And we know the Black History Month, part of it was a conspiracy because they showed you, they tore down Michael Jackson the whole month.
That's right.
To counter Black History Month.
And now you don't hear nothing about it.
You don't hear nothing about it.
It's starting to boil over.
And see, they could have done it in January, they could have done it in March, but they chose that time to tear down him. They even did a special on Bobby Brown and Whitney Houston. They did one on another one they did one on Diana Ross. And they all negative, and they did one on O.J. Simpson to counter what was going on Black History Month. But the one on Black History Month, the one that was one of the greatest ones, was the Emmett Till story that came on Black History Month. Well, this is what happened. I watched the story that came on in Black History Month the first week or something when it came on. I later on traveled to, it came on either in January leading up to Black History Month or whatever. They showed it a couple of times. And I traveled to St. Louis and I traveled to Kansas City. Now the sister in Kansas City, Sister Olivia, is a medium that later on was opened up in the spring of last year, around May of last year. She tapped into the spirit realm so good until we could even call down these spirits that have made the transition and talk to them. So we go to St. Louis, and the night before we went to St. Louis, I showed her the Emmett Till documentary. And she saw it. Then we went to St. Louis the next day, and the next day in the hotel room, I had her to call on Emmett Till, and Emmett Till came. And we talked to the brother. And he said, yes, I was a sacrificial lamb. That's right.
He was, too.
For black people. He said, and my job was done well, and I'm here chilling. This is what he told. He said, I am here. I'm at a lofty position in the spirit world because I died a hideous death to wake black people up.
Now, hold that point for 1 minute. When people hear things like that, it bugs him out like, what the fuck, how you don't speak? Man, what you saying is right and exact, because I do it all the time, Brother Bobby. When I'm out there with my table, with my pictures, right? I could be talking and teaching the people, because Shabazz will tell you, my table stay jam-packed. And I could be talking and teaching the people, and the next thing you know, something comes over me like it's not even me no more. Now I'm like this fiery type of dude, like a Nat Turner, and I'm just bombing and blowing up the cracker, and I'm just getting at them. And I'm always saying, when I come out, I'm going to chill today. I'm not going to scream on no white people. I'm going to do the business. I'm going to come out and handle business. But the next thing you know, it's like the spirit takes my body. You see what I'm saying? And now it's not really me speaking out there. You see what I'm saying? People don't understand that. This shit is real, man. The spirits of the ancestors is real. When I'm feeling out there, it comes through the concrete, man. It comes right through me.
It does.
And now I'm out there bombing and blowing up every cracker and nigger that come out there and try to fight against me for teaching the truth.
It's a spiritual war.
It's a spiritual war, man. You're right.
And I know what you're talking about, because I've been doing this for the last 10 years, the last 11 years, lecturing and getting into the zone, and something overtakes me.
There you go.
So he comes and he talks, and he says that I am having a great time. He said that he was sacrificed, and it was a sacrificial lamb. He did his job well, and he's at a lofty position in the spirit realm. And in the spirit realm, and that and that also he said that but I did what I had to do, and I don't have to return. My job was done. He also said, but your job in the aspect of what we're doing now is greater, and he bears witness to that. A couple of minutes later, I told her to, and I don't know how this happened, but I told her to pull down collet, which is interesting, because you see the wall with your whole aspect of collet. It went down, and you being of the New Black Panther Party and your relationship, and as you can see, here's a picture of you and Collet together. That's you and Collet together, isn't it? Yeah, right here.
That's right.
You see what I'm saying? So we called on him, and he admitted to me that it was a conspiracy around his death.
Goddamn right.
And that he was poisoned. And he also said that his wife's hands wasn't clean also.
Oh yeah, that's right.
You see what I'm saying? All that too. And so he admitted to that particular aspect too. Also, so what I'm trying to tell people here is the reason why we don't believe in that is because we done let the Western man or the white man convince us that these things can't be done. But in the ancient world, we used to do all this kind of stuff.
All the time, man.
You see what I'm saying? We used to do all this kind of stuff. So there's nothing for us to get in touch. The only thing that's different between them is they've lost their physical body. But the spirit still lives on, or the soul, and all. That knows everything. And so it's going back to these particular brothers and sisters that's been martyred for us. Their job was done well.
And the spirit flows out there. You know, like our ancient ancestors, like the Nat Turner. What do you say? Where does the spirit go? Like when they take the physical body, where does the spirit go?
Right.
It's energy, right? All energy is constant. It just changes form. It might come through the womb of another black woman. So when I look at the incident of Colin Ferguson, I say, damn, that could have been Nat Turner again.
Could have been.
You know what I'm saying? Catching that Long Island Railroad, killing the white folks.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
It could have been. I give this example of what happened here around the same time that all this was going down with the Emmett Till story. It happened this spring of this year, or sometime during the first part of the winter was. And we know this, and it's fitting for this tape. We know that your boy, Charles Drew, who was the person who was responsible for giving us blood plasma and blood transfusion and blood work, ironically died in North Carolina because he couldn't get blood. The man who started the blood transfusion and the blood and the blood plasma work research, black man Charles Drew died in North Carolina because they would not admit him to a white hospital. Now, show you spiritually. The scene she ever, and it was around the same time of Emmett Till's death. It was like 1954, 1955, or 1956, still the mid-50s. Now, the scene shift 40-something years later. North Carolina, top university at Duke University in North Carolina. The winter part of this year, 2003, or late 2002, I think it was the early 2003. Little Hispanic girl goes to get admitted to get a heart transplant. They end up killing her and she ended up dying because the top doctors in the United States did not even check to find out what her blood type was, something that is the first thing you're supposed to do. And she ended up dying because they gave her the wrong blood. In North Carolina, same place that Charles Drew died when they didn't admit him to the hospital, and Charles Drew is one of the pioneers, is the pioneer of this blood plasma. You see the spirit realm? And not only did he die, they died in the same state. They said, no, we're going to make it even worse. We're going to put mockery on one of the top hospitals or the top universities in the world on this particular shit. Duke University, and something as simple as a blood transfusion, and they're trying to figure out how could they have doctors.
That was last month sometime, right? That
it was back in the, you know,
the white girl? A couple of months ago?
Couple of months ago.
Right, I remember, yeah.
They said, how can one of the top universities in the world and top medical centers in the world, in North Carolina again, and some of the top doctors in the world do something as simple as kill a person because they didn't check the blood that she was and gave her the wrong blood.
Yeah, that's deep right there.
And I said they can do it because that's Charles Drew.
That's right.
Showing
the same
the spirit, what goes around comes around. There's a goddess that they don't let people know called, in Greek called, which is African, the Etruscans called Nemesis. And Nemesis is the goddess of retribution. She's a form of Mayat. And we are in the cycle of Mayat cycle. And she's the form of Mayat called Nemesis. And she's a goddess of divine retribution. They play this down even in metaphysics because that means if you play this goddess up, or if you exclude this goddess from the whole Mayatian principle, then if you don't play this god up, then you can avoid telling the people that, motherfucker, you got some retribution coming for all the shit you've done on the planet. So this goddess of divine, this whole cycle now is one of the Mayatian cycle, and the goddess of divine retribution, or what goes around comes around, is going down.
That's right.
You see, all kind of retribution where them people take a ship and go out there on the Atlantic Ocean, down in the Caribbean, in cruise line, they coming back all sick.
And that's it.
And that's because of the ancestors and the spirits and the slaves that died in the middle class passages. In the fall of this year, 2002, the fall of 2002, they had several ships, cruise ships, that came back off the ocean, and the people were sick. And and wasn't nothing wrong with the food. The spirits out there with the middle passage where so many slaves died got hold of them people out there and made them sick. And we know that that's been happening in the Middle Passage and stuff for the simple fact, which is the Atlantic Ocean. And we know it's been happening in the Middle Passage because you had the incidents that happened with the sharks back here right before 9/11. People didn't understand that they had a shark attack, shark bites, and the people started killing. They started killing people every damn week.
White people.
White folks. They killed one black person. They said, what's the first time one black guy did it? They said, well, you know, it's getting so bad now. Usually only white people when these animals happen.
He was a Negro.
But then again, by him probably being a Negro, they can't tell the difference no more.
That's right.
But these sharks in the Middle Passage, they didn't kill him. They just bit his leg off. These sharks in the Middle Passage started biting people's legs off. Now check this out. But what they didn't tell you is they had a school of sharks swimming around like they had a little meeting. It was like 200-300 sharks swimming around, and the people was actually in the water, and the sharks was up under the water swimming around, and the sharks didn't even bite none of the people. It was like they was having a meeting. Well, the story goes that these sharks could have very well been the spirits of those slaves that died in the Middle Passage, because the story goes is when they would have a slave ship that was overloaded with slaves, and they were going real slow, but they had to meet a certain deadline at the slave ports, because if they didn't meet that deadline, or when they're supposed to have a certain amount of slaves delivered, those people that was buying those slaves, you see what I'm saying, was buying those slaves, would be able to get those slaves for a lot cheaper price. They couldn't charge them the price that these people was buying the slaves, and not unless they got them there on time. So to make up time, they would have to abort slaves.
Right.
In the in the ocean. The sharks, they had aborted so many slaves out over so many years until the sharks automatically knew. They automatically knew that to follow the slowest ship, because they knew that sooner or later that ship was going to have to abort slaves. And those slaves were eaten by those sharks, and their spirits remained in the offspring of those sharks, or revisited those sharks to put divine retribution here at the first part of the latter part of 2001, or damn near 2 weeks or a week. I think the last shark bite was a week or 2 weeks before the 9/11 incident. But remember, in the Dogon, they talk about the return of the Nomo, which is a symbol of a fish, and they say when the Nomo return, we will be ready. So there's a whole ancestral thing that's going on. There's got a tape called Ghost Time that talks about this. But there's a whole ancestral thing that's going on even in this particular aspect, and give you this particular aspect. I got a brother a guy named Tony that sits in sugarcane fields down in Louisiana during a certain season. And for the people that hear the story, in certain seasons, and he just sit there and they load his truck and he drive it to the mill, but he has a lot of time in between and so he sit there and watch videos and read books, conscious books, and watch metaphysical videos and watch my stuff. And he said he could see slaves working out in the field. Now this is 2003, but he could see the slaves. It was actually fall of 2002. And he could see the slaves still working out in the field. He said, but during that fall of the year, 5 owners of the sugarcane fields ended up killing themselves.
These are white people?
White people. Because they inherited the sugarcane fields of their slave master parents.
Right.
Or grandparents, or great-grandparents. And they ended up killing themselves and stuff. That's like you see the movie, that's how what happened in Haiti in 1994 when they invaded Haiti. A lot of the soldiers was turning the gun on themselves and killing themselves. That's what the voodoo that they was dealing with down there. So 5 sugarcane field owners killed themselves and stuff, because that's the spirits gaining momentum. Now, a sister I know named Aviva said the same thing. She said she was walking down some cornfield, some guy she was visiting, and the guy said, go walk amongst the cornfield. And when she was walking in the cornfield, she turned on one path and she saw a whole bunch of slaves in there working. She ran back to the house hollering and stuff, and the guy said, you ain't the first person seen slaves out there working. This is like the movie Field of Dreams, where they show that if you build it, they will come, and those ghosts came. Now, it was a real phenomenon.
Just like the movie Sankofa.
Yeah.
Remember how she went back in time? And see, that movie is so deep because there's a lot of our people here. She said, no, I'm not an African, I'm an American.
Right.
Because she come from America.
And we know it happens because they show so many people go into trance in Goree Island when they go into slave dungeons.
Right.
And the shit hit them. You see. Now, so, there's a sister named Sharon up in Chicago. She said, well, that's an interesting story. She said, I had a son that was in the Army in the early 90s. He was in Virginia. And he said he'd get off on the weekends and he'd ride around and he would call her and tell her, Mama, there's some people that's still in slavery in this state. And they work at this plantation. And she said, we even drove, he said, we used to drive up there and tell them, hey, slavery's over. What the fuck y'all doing? He said, these were real people. He said, and she said, he used to call, this was back in 1993. And she said she saw my tape, and she said this was interesting because the son used to tell her about this. And I said, well, ask your son, did they ever used to respond? And she said, she called her son. The son said, as a matter of fact, when I was telling them that slavery was over, they never would talk back to me, and they never would say anything. I said, well, he didn't realize it. Although it was real, he had tapped into another dimension. That was a ghost plantation.
I was going to say, the residue,
yeah,
you know, of the spirit is still there to remind you what happened.
Well, see, what happened was you got some slaves who was born in slavery. They never was free, so the only thing that they know is to work. And so they get trapped in these vortex. Just like there's people trapped in the middle passage.
We in the middle passage right now, man.
It's a whole bunch of stuff going on. Let me give you this last story.
I said we in the middle passage right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To give you this last story, a sister named Mamsey from Detroit, she's from Philadelphia, used to work for Philadelphia International with Teddy Pendergrass and a whole bunch of, you know, OJs and Billy Paul and all them in the 70s. She said she went back to Africa, I think it was either in the early 90s or late 80s. And she said when she was over there, people was running all down to the river and was waving and stuff, and see the other black people in the boat was waving and stuff, and they was thought that they were just so happy to see them returning. She said, and everywhere they would go, everywhere she would go, people would say, people would hear about it, they would come to see them and be waving and all that, and then they come to find out and all that they was waving at her. But she said when she went to go into Goree Island or go in the dungeons where they have the slaves, she said she turned stiff and she couldn't be moved from the spot. Whatever it was, they wouldn't let her, the spirits wouldn't let her go into that slave dungeon. So they was going all around and was going crazy. She said, and so she said one night she's there and a tall brother came to her house. She said she figured she knew the brother, tall built brother. She said, I'm gonna get with this brother. Came to the house, they made love and all this, where she was staying. She said she woke up the next morning and she tried to touch him. He was stiff as a stone, a brick. It was like a statue. Then he woke up, got dressed, kissed her, and left. She said, so they went another place and they was all going crazy over her, and she said, well, what is it? What is it? Well, I'm going crazy. And they took her to some spirit lady, and the spirit lady started telling them this story about how there was a woman during the time of the slave trade that had this guy that was madly in love with her. But there was another sister that wanted the guy and told the slavers where to go get her and lock her up, and they threw her in Goree Island and ended up coming to America and being a slave. She said, and what happened was the brother who was in love with her and she was in love with him, he walked all over Africa or walked all over a certain area for the rest of his life looking for her. So they told her that she was that spirit or reincarnation of the slave that had left, and they had this story. They knew she would return one day, and they were actually waiting for her to return. And when she returned, it was a big celebration that went on. A big celebration that went on. She said, and she saw the guy one last time when she was in New York in a hotel. He came and visited her one last time. Now, so these are spirit stories that's going on, like and one of the ones that happened with one of the sisters that wrote the book, The Mark of Voodoo, said that she was over in Benin, Africa, and those people over there all knew about slavery. She said, well, how could you know about slavery? And they told her, she knew these phenomenal stories about slavery, and she said they told her that those people that was taken from that area who had gone into slavery, after they died in slavery, those spirits would travel back to Africa and tell them all about their experience in slavery. And over all those years, because based on oral tradition and word of mouth, they knew all these stories about slavery because the spirits came back and told them about slavery. You see what I'm saying? Came back and told them about slavery. So that means that these spirits still are alive and they're very powerful.
All right, let me ask you. Do you think the Africans that is coming over here now know about slavery?
Not all of them.
Because you can look at the way our relationship is.
Not all of them. That was just that certain group that was in Benin. That's a certain voodoo group which has a connection with America and the Caribbean. But not all the Africans. Some of them have no idea, don't want to know, don't like us, and have no relationship with us.
If you was to look at 125th Street right now, Brother Bob, I know you was out there before. When you was out standing in front of the mosque, I heard about that.
Yeah.
When you was out there teaching and you was talking to the people, right? Now, if you go there now and look at it, you'll see Africans guarding. They are the security for the Jews in their stores, standing on the outside, sitting on high chairs. Now, if I was to go by there and say, damn, I'm hungry, I need to get this, take this for my baby, it will be those African motherfuckers that will run me down and bring me back.
It was already.
I seen it, brother.
It was already forecast with Bill Cooper. He said when the New World Order goes down, that they was going to get, in order to put the New World Order down, the regular average citizen, even white, would not lock his own mother down. So as a result, for white people, they was going to get Russians who have no relationship with America and no connection with America. They would get Russians that come in, and they would be the police for lockdown white folks. Well, in this case, we knew in 1998 that the new person that was going to treat black people with heavy hands, and it was a government conspiracy, was going to be the Africans. So when shit go down, the Africans are the one that's going to enforce, the lockdown, and will be two things. Will be the adversary against black people for white people. Because they have no connection with us. They have no allegiance with us. Because, you know what I'm saying? Based on the culture and based on the negative aspect that was trained by the British and Americans for them to hate us over a campaign of the last 130 years. So the new Jew, Korean, Arab, all these people that treated us with heavy hands in our community is now the Africans coming. Now I know this for a fact because I was out in Denver doing a lecture, which is 4% black. 4% black. And they got a Denver airport out there, which is this airport that's the model for all the stuff. It's got all kind of stuff out there. They talk about it. And I was at that airport, and the entire security staff was African. In a place that's 4% black, and they weren't students. These were old Africans, 40s, 50s, late 30s. So they weren't college students. They had imported these Africans over here for security to figure this out on who's going to be the next security force to put people on lockdown. And those Africans. And lo and behold, when I came back through the Atlanta airport, when I got off the plane, I made it a point to see what was going to go on as far as the security staff. When I got off the point, they had got off the plane. They had what was a year before 9/11 was all black.
That's right.
Black people in America was now mostly African. They had fired most of the black people because to lock people down, you would be reluctant to lock your mama down, to treat your mama with a heavy hand, so you get somebody that's alien to your culture, that don't give a damn. In this particular case, it's the African who is already trained to hate us.
And if you see the way they treat themselves right now in Africa, The ones that's the police over there.
Yeah.
How they killing their own babies for the white man. The white man is behind the scenes.
Also too about this, that the whole concept of the racial concept never really registered with them because they're around all black people all the time.
Right.
So they were never a minority figure on lockdown. They were the majority figure on lockdown. So it's a different type of mentality and stuff like that now. You see, so the whole concept of black people, a lot of the people that was black was their own enemies. So they don't look at the concept of race as we do. You see what I'm saying? As we do. So this is some stuff that's actually going on. But that is a new government plot that the new enemy is going to be our own. Some of our own people.
But then again, on the other hand,
we don't want to even identify with just solely African being our origin because of the simple fact we lived on a continent, we lived on a world where it was one continent at one time, or one landmass and one people. So we got people all over the world as black people, not just this continental African.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So that's some new shit.
Now, that right there is September the 13th. Now, you don't need to hold that one up yet.
Oh, yeah.
Just the one with the picture.
Okay, yeah.
That one is September the 13th, 1963. That's a real picture in Ghana. Now, see that? That's a white...
Turn that up a little bit, can you?
That's a white African king. I want you to see him first. Look at this bastard. Look at the Africans behind him. Now, this is in Ghana. Look at the child. You got the child standing at the feet of the white man.
You know the funny thing about it? Was Nkrumah still living there?
Nkrumah.
Yeah, I think he was.
Yeah, yeah.
Why did he allow this bullshit?
In Ghana. Now, get the other one. Now, that's the story. No, read that, if you can see that. Yeah, that is in Ghana right there.
I want to hold this up.
Okay. Jimmy Mixon is one of the few white chiefs in Africa recognized by a government on September the 13th, 1963. Ghana's official newspaper announced the adventures of Nina Kofi Obonya, Obana. I would say Kofi Obana, literally the chief born on Friday who lives at the bottom of the cliff. Jimmy Maxson was 20 years old and just out of Cambridge University when the World War II broke out. He became an administrative colonial of the Gold Coast in 1957 when Ghana became the first African country to achieve independence. He was reluctant to leave. Now you see, and then it goes on to tell you how most of the African people wish that they had a white chief behind them or in front of them. You see what I'm saying? People must bow down to him. He is the only white person, it says people must bow down to him. He is the only white person in Africa who is born on a processional litter. It has become a trend among some African kings in Ghana and Nigeria to have a white chief. You see what I'm saying, brother?
Look at this.
It is right there.
Look at this. Well, let me drop something on you. I remember this, and then what, 2 years ago in Jet celebrated another one. In Jet 2 years ago, they celebrated another white chief they had. But check this out. There's a sister named Aviva that lives down in Atlanta that lived in Ghana from I think it was like from 96 or 97 to the end of 98. She lived there about 2 or 3 years anyway. She was there during the time, I think it was in 97, when Clinton came. Remember Clinton went over to Ghana?
Yeah.
And this is what she said. She said the Africans, she woke up that day and the Africans was dressing up like some Easter shit. They were dressing up, they had on all the little big old hats and shit, their little shoes, and they was dressing all up in their little clothes. And she said, where the hell y'all going? And they said, we're going to see the Messiah. we are going to see the Messiah. She said, what the hell? So she asked other ones, where you going? We're going to see the Messiah. And so when she went to see what they was talking about, it was Bill Clinton.
Mm. That's when all of them went out there and was going crazy.
They was going crazy, trying to touch his hand.
Right.
He was telling them to get back.
I remember that.
They looked like savages out there running after the white man's hand.
That's right.
But the thing about it was, about her being over there, she said that their thing was, they were saying that they was going to see the Messiah. So when these Africans come over here and they see these big tall buildings and they see all this shit that the white man got over here, they believe he's God.
That's right.
And when they see us at the foot of them and the white man say, can you help us out, they will do as much as whatever the white man want them to do as being the new nigger. At this particular point here, the new cracker, the new Klansman. And this is a reality. I hate to say it, but this is reality. I know we try to hold up Africa as romanticism, but this is a reality. We're not talking down on brothers from Africa that know that's got good sense, but them brothers, but the ones who got common sense, they know in their circle that the people in their circle hate us and they talk shit about us every day.
And that's why it's a conspiracy to let those type of Africans come over. You see, they're not going to let the revolutionary brothers and sisters come over. You see what I'm saying? Because they don't want that connection with us. They know we the one that holds up the torchlight for revolution. Right. We set the mindset for revolution all over the goddamn world because the world is watching us. Exactly. And if we make that connection, they don't want that, man.
That's right.
That's why it's a conscious effort to keep us and them apart. We're going to let the Negro ones come over here, like Malcolm would say, the house Negroes come over here.
And they start training them in elementary school to hate us.
That's right. Exactly.
And I had one people like, you know, the Ethiopians never really got along with us. But every now and then, now what's happening is you got because of the hip-hop craze is worldwide.
This Saturday, right? This Saturday while you was in Brooklyn doing the lecture, no, it was Friday, I had an African came up to me and bought 3 of the lynching pictures. I said 1 for 10, 3 for 25. And when he bought the pictures, he looked at me and called me a nigger. I'm not lying to you. God is my witness, brother. The spirit of our ancestors is my witness. He called me a nigger and laughed and walked away, man. And I looked at him and he was glad he walked away. Real quick, he walked away. You know what I'm saying? People that's going to see this tape know that I'm telling the truth. Because they be there. They be around my table all the time.
Well, this is what the brother told me. I heard it in 1980 when I was in college when I asked one brother, why don't he like us? And he said, but you know, basically they tell you all that we monkeys and swing from trees.
That's right.
And then they tell you all, and he say, and they tell us that you all are lazy, sleepless, and dangerous, and all of this type of thing. And the next time I would hear it from an African lips was in 1980. The next time I hear it from an African lips was 1998 when there was a brother. Now the senior ship, the Ethiopians never really got along with us, but now a lot of them are hip hoppers, and and in order to be a hip hopper, you got to hang around black people in America. So as a result, what happened was we were sitting around, I was around a coffee shop, and this Ethiopian come, yo, what's up, brother? He all hip-hop back. and so he just started talking one day, and so he got into the knowledge aspect. So he said, you know, it's interesting. He said, when we are in elementary school, the white man comes over and he tell us all this messed up stuff about you all. And he bears witness about all of that type of stuff. But you know what I'm saying, about all of that type of stuff and all. Normally we wouldn't even got this from him, but now the hip-hop craze is so much now, it's done permeated the continent until now we are the shit.
That's right.
So therefore, the stuff is coming out, and he said these types of things and all. So they have been doing this stuff for years. But you can't tell these Africans that. And as a result, they're going to use them against us.
I always say be aware when they start to become NYPD,
There you go.
because they're going to be shooting us down and getting
That's
away
right.
with
They're
it,
gonna be
man.
worse than any white cop
That's
ever
why
was.
they're going to go on the force.
Yeah.
You see, because the white man know what they're capable of. As he put that mind in them,
Right.
he know what they're capable of. He done
Mm-hmm.
took their mind out and replaced it with his mind. You see what I'm
Exactly.
saying? So they're walking around in the white man's mind, and it's a shame that our people here don't see it coming, man.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? There was a time where we was doing the braiding hair, where our girls was out there braiding hair, the brothers was out there shooting skellies, and you remember that? Remember that era?
Mm-hmm.
We was shooting the skellies, and the
Yeah.
sisters was jumping double dutch on the summer, playing cars, and our women be out there braiding hair and doing the hair.
Uh-huh.
Now they stopped that, and look who's doing it and benefiting off of it. The African women. Just like it was a time, an era where we was doing the number running. Remember the number running?
Right, yeah.
The white man said that that was illegal. But now look how he made it legal for him.
Mm-hmm.
5 pick, take 5, all that type of shit.
Mm-hmm.
That's the same shit. Numbers, you know what I'm saying? But
Right.
see, he took our way of always trying to make economics for ourselves. And he made it fit for him, but he called ours a criminal accent. If we was trying to sell numbers and take the numbers, being a number man in the booking. Remember that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, but see, now the white man, oh man, it's crazy, man.
It is.
He turned it against ourselves, and now they got take 5. You see, it's the same shit. What number you gonna play today, brother? Give me a 5 or 6 or 7. And now we go to them and ask them, what's the number now?
Yeah.
Shit is crazy, man.
So he knows that he knows that he can get anybody to be against us, and it don't even have to even be him.
That's right.
You see what I'm saying? Don't even have to even be him. And so that's the new one now. Oh, that's the new one. I've even go as far as them calling us monkeys. Ain't that ironic?
Oh yeah, they will.
You know, calling us monkeys. They're doing that down in Atlanta. You see what I'm saying? So this thing is something, man.
Mm-hmm.
You got any questions?
We got like 7 minutes left.
Okay.
That'll be 4 hours. So in closing, to sum it all up, what message do you have for the people out there who's going to see this?
Well, I
tape?
give the people to say that at this time.
Do not be afraid to study you.
That, as well as this time, they need to tap into the ancestral force, because it is there. We talk about these brothers that's going on. What about if you build a monument like Brother Sonetta has done to these forces, and these forces can act as an army, you see what I'm saying, to help you. It talks about the goddess Inanna, Ishtar, and Inanna in one thing, or Isis in one level. Ishtar says, prophesies that one day she was going to tear down the gates of Hades, or tear down the gates of the underworld, and the dead shall eat the living, and the dead shall walk among the living and outnumber the living. Well, what they're talking about here is the spirit world being our ally and our forces, and that's what we have to tap into.
Exactly. And if you truly believe it in your heart, the way you believe in that white Jesus, you know, believe me, the spirit of your ancestors will put a force around you to protect you.
Like, why are you going to deal with a white Holy Ghost when you got the black Holy Ghost?
That's right. There you go.
You see what I'm saying?
I remember you saying a long time ago, I think it was at the slave theater, where wherever you would go, there was always a ship.
That's right.
And you would always look up and you would see that ship and you would talk to the ship like, wow, you keep following me. What's going on? And the ship would say, well, I'm here to protect you.
Right.
Remember, that's an old tape
That's
you got. I still remember
As a matter
that.
of
You know what I'm
fact,
saying?
as a matter of fact, a bit of history went on at the slave theater at night, because I told the people to go outside.
That's right. And you'll see it.
And you'll see it. Now,
That's right.
had I gone outside at the slave theater and no ship would appear,
You would
my
look like a
career
damn fool. Right, right.
could have been ended.
That's
Because
right.
nobody would have never took anything I said and seen me anymore. But that was damn near 8 years ago.
That's right.
Why? Because sure enough, when we went outside, the ship appeared over the slave theater, and the people who was there saw it. And we even got it on tape the next day in Harlem when I did another lecture of them being witness. And we got it on tape in February of 2001, where there were some people at the lecture, when I told the miraculous story again, there were some people that was at the lecture 6 years later, 7 years later, say, I was there that night and we saw
That's
that.
right.
So
I saw the tape.
that's the spirit
I saw
aspect.
the tape. Yeah, that's
the
how I
spirit
know.
aspect. So we know that now is the time to also call upon the ancestors. You see what I'm saying? It's like in the movie Amistad. He said, I come on the heels of the ancestors that came before me. Well, what is he also talking about? He's also talking about that he is one of those ancestors.
Mm-hmm.
You see, in the Book of the Dead, they say, I call upon the gods upon the ladder like a goose. I holler like a goose, and for the gods to hear my prayer, but I am one of them. And they hear my prayer and report it to the stars furious. That's in the book of coming forth by there, the Book of the Dead.
Mm-hmm.
So in this particular aspect and all, we're still saying at this particular time to not only remember the ancestors, but call on the ancestors, but do not be afraid to research your painful past, because that is your fuel. That is the energy that you have around you, especially in the warfare that you are a part of and you don't know it, in the Cold War.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying?
With that, we like to say Hotep, peace, black power. And what I love about this tape is, notice we didn't spend 4 goddamn hours talking about motherfuckers. You see what I'm saying? We was vibing off of the energy of the spirit of our ancestors.
Yeah, right, exactly.
And that's what I like about that, is teaching. We trying to teach the people to reach them.
And I'll be honest with you, the reason why I was damn near, I was about to doze off because I was in the zone.
That's right.
It wasn't because I was sleeping. It's because it was a meditative state and I was communing with the actual ancestors. You see what I'm saying? With the actual ancestors and stuff like that. So this is the type of spiritual time and things like that are actually happening.
All right. Oh, so with that, see you next time. When would you be back, brother?
Maybe about a month. Who knows?
Okay, about a month. All right. Peace, Brother Bobby.
All right.